What a moment! Touchdown! Titus Holdman! And everybody, both teams swarmed Titus Holdman.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
3rd and 8. Fired over the middle. Caught on the run by Cedric Wilson. And Wilson inside the 10, all the way to the end zone.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Backside heat, fumble, got knocked loose, it's on the ground. Loose ball, a big hit by T.J. Franklin. And the Bears have the football. And McClain is lit.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Welcome to one of the nicest high school football stadiums you could ever attend, and there are, of course, hundreds of them in the state of Texas. This is Newsom Stadium in Mansfield, Texas, population of just over 70,000. But I was talking to the assistant athletic director a moment ago, and Don told me that they have some 11 zip codes in their addresses of students who attend Mansfield ISD. They have 5 high schools here. Tonight, Lake Ridge, one of those in Class 6A, will play Midway, a team that we've covered throughout the year and 11 of the last 12 years or so here at Newsom Stadium. 6:30 the pregame, 7 o'clock is the kick. We'll also have the game not only on Sikkim 365 Radio, the app, and more online, but also 106.7 FM, The Eagle. We're going to focus in on Oklahoma State. I mentioned it and discussed it a little bit yesterday with Mike Boynton and his tears and his emotions and his passion for his players and program. We will talk today to Jason Unruh. He covers Oklahoma State, and he'll join us today at 3:30. Jacob Unruh, covers Oklahoma State basketball. We'll check in with Chad Brendel on Cincinnati. Also, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola on the Cowboys. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top 5, and maybe a couple of other nuggets as well. So, Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina here with me. So Colt Barber put up, and I just noticed this, that Baylor has announced that football ops building, they're going into the next phase. Now, they're not like digging things tomorrow, but this is the football ops building that's going to be on the Brazos River that looks over the Brazos towards the stadium and all the other facilities that Baylor has. And this is the next phase, which is good because it's kind of been quiet for a while with all of what's going on with COVID. And now it appears as if that's on the board agenda coming up on Friday, a call to order, and much more as well. That's great news. The football and athletics program have been wanting that to get done. That's the next thing Baylor athletics has to do.
Yeah, and I just want to say Vernon Newsom Stadium is one of the better places that we've come, I think, on a regular basis. I like the setup of it. For me, being down the sidelines, it's nicely accessible, and yeah, it's a cool place. I like the view up here. I wish everybody could see kind of the panorama that we have of Mansfield, Texas. But as far as the football ops building goes, I mean, yeah, that's a project that's needed to happen for a while now. It was something that Matt Rule was working on before he left and was really trying to make a priority. And, you know, if you know anything about where they're set up right now, it's not like most schools of their stature. I mean, most schools of their stature have a separate building entirely. That's their field house, or they have at least a big chunk. And Baylor's kind of, how would you even? They're kind of in a closet in comparison to some other teams in some ways.
And I think one of the things that people need to realize is why football needs this. And take out the money and the opulence of the NCAA. That's just a fact of life. But if you can take football out of your main building, your athletics building, that's 85 athletes on scholarship and another 20 or so. They're not in that weight room that you can easily move around. It's something that's kind of needed. And
office space.
All these things that you can do. So, yeah, football needs an ops building because it's an industry unto itself.
Yeah, it's been kind of crammed almost now at this point because it feels like campus is kind of bursting at the seams, and you see all the athletes that are in one single area all the time. And, yeah, football probably is overdue for its own little spot given all that revolves around that. So I think that'll be really great news for Baylor athletics. I think it's the type of thing that you have to do to keep Dave Aranda happy, to keep, coaches happy. You got to keep upgrading the facilities and staying with the race. And so it's been a little while since they've really had a major project that I can think of. It's been so much about this field house and or the new basketball field house, which is coming along as well. So, yeah, I think that's great news and should make the football program pretty happy.
Yeah, and it's something that's important. And, of course, they've had to deal with some of the floodplain and some of those new studies that they've done. But the agenda saying approval of the football operations building phase 1 and design, including project design fees and pre-construction services. So that's that. Also, as you know, there are coaching searches all throughout the country, and there is two now in the state of Texas, and there couldn't be 4 or 5, the domino effect. We've discussed Texas Tech. We've discussed Jeff Traylor signed the extension with UT San Antonio. Also, of course, Gary Patterson out at TCU. I saw where after practice, I guess it was yesterday, that there was a big, huge team picture, and Patterson was in the middle of all that. He has been a part of it this week. And as I said, he would lose a body part if he knew that he could help TCU beat Baylor. And if they do win, if TCU was to pull off what would be an upset, then obviously Patterson will get a lot of credit for that. If they do lose, then nobody will really remember. But there's signs around Fort Worth saying thanks, Gary, around the campus, around areas in the neighborhood as well. Now, and that's a game that absolutely Baylor should have no business. But if TCU comes out and get a couple of breaks or whatever, and if you have the early parts of Oklahoma State, which T.J. Franklin said the Baylor has learned from that, then you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble.
So is Zach Evans good? Do we know?
I have no idea.
I mean, I was searching for a Zach Evans update the other night, and there was nothing. There was nothing in like a week since he didn't play last week. I was thinking, especially with the Patterson news, that surely there was something on his status, and maybe it's come out since that time and I just haven't looked. But he's a question mark just because he's missed some time here lately. And then you got Max Duggan. How healthy is he really? And besides that, I mean, are they rolling with him? Are they rolling with Chandler Morris after Morris came in last week? That's a question that we don't know.
Well, let me answer that for you.
Okay, good.
From Jerry Kill, their interim head coach, I'm really not ready to answer that question, but I'm not dodging it either. Right now with Max, everyone knows he's been playing with a bone fracture, and it started to take a toll on him. There's no question about that, but don't rule him out or anything because we could have done that last week. He alluded to the fact that Duggan's toughness allowed him to play through a broken bone in his foot since Texas Tech game a month ago. On Saturday, Duggan eventually just found his way to the bench, and the offense, of course, needing more with Duggan out. Chandler Morris is the backup. That's why he finished the game. Duggan is fighting and so forth, but we're not also going to just put anyone in harm's way either. Yeah. Today's going to be an important day of the evaluation. He was talking about yesterday and Wednesday, and I'm sure even today, and then make a decision at some point.
There's a line between being admirable and letting a guy be tough, and then just like let him heal, and then be better off down the line. And I think that's probably what they're trying to figure out right now.
How much of it is Max Duggan's decision? You got to sometimes take that out of the player's hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know what his feelings are or how hurt he is. I mean, that's kind of a vague thing that he just said there. So we know he's banged up, but to what extent? I mean, only Max Duggan and TCU really know. My thing is if he can't run all that effectively, then I'm not worried about him at all. And I know I can say things a little more freely than the players or coaches can say it, and I'm sure they have far more concern than I do. But I'm looking at TCU. I'm looking at their numbers. I'm looking at what I've watched this year. And I'm looking at trying to find 3 players to watch that aren't Duggan, Johnston, and Zach Evans. And Johnston, they got to pay attention to him tomorrow, although he had an awful game last weekend. So, I mean, just looking at it all, outside of the Gary Patterson firing, that's the only reason I even believe that TCU is going to play a really good game tomorrow. That's the reason why I believe that they will give Baylor a fight. If it was not for that, and Patterson was in place, I'd probably assume TCU is going to give him a good fight because that's what Patterson does. So it's kind of revolving around him in my mind. I think but regardless, if Baylor plays their typical game, if they protect the football and they play great defense and they don't give up big plays and they run the football effectively, all the things that winning teams do and that they've done very well this year, I don't care what TCU does, Baylor should win this game.
I think TCU will. I think they have enough enough to give Baylor a really good, tough first half. But I don't know if they have the depth on either side of the ball right now, especially if you talk about, Max Duggan at best at, probably 60%, and Zach Evans, who I unlikely to be there based on the fact he's been in a walking.
Quentin Johnson embarrassed Baylor last year.
Yeah,
had a big game against Baylor last year.
It was a big game, but it wasn't like he went off for like 300.
He
some crazy.
Was the one that gave him the lift early with big passes.
Yeah.
and they just couldn't handle him.
But they see. You're right, and he's able to make some catches, but he hasn't quite just gone off, and I wouldn't expect him to this weekend either. Just based on the quarterback situation, based on last week Xavier Worthy popped a couple plays early, and if you're Baylor preparing for TCU, you're looking at some other guys as well, but Johnston's the big key. So if you can limit him, and that's going to be easier said than done, then I really like their chance. TCU just doesn't have a lot proven right now. They're just kind of floating along, and obviously the situation at hand is somewhat to do with that. But their defense has not been playing up to the level you'd expect. So I'm very intrigued to see how they perform tomorrow, because as of late, especially last week, it was not good.
Yeah, and we mentioned tomorrow we're out of Thursday night game, and so obviously Mark Martinez. Today's Thursday. Y'all had me worried. I was forgetting about it, and 2 more sleeps until TCU. You're right. And
I'm in a press box. I think it's Friday.
Yeah, it is, because normally, and again, thanks to Burt Colton Ford, Mark Stewart, and that great staff. They also are the ones who are the sponsor of the Midway High School Player of the Week. And, of course, that was Titus Holman, the great story on Friday night a week ago. He was today, and I'm a part of the Built Ford Tough Media Advisory Committee when it comes to nominating all of the classes from TAPS or private schools all the way up to 6A. He did not win the 6A Player of the Week. There's all sorts of players who have incredible statistical games, but they did a special note, an honorable mention note for Titus Holman, the senior from Midway, from his moment last week against Cedar Hill. And I don't know if you guys, I think I cleared this up. The defensive coordinator at Cedar Hill is the one that actually said, no, give him the football. So they called timeout. Carlos Lynn, the head coach at Cedar Hill, South Dallas, had talked to Shane about earlier in the week that he wanted to get him in. Just play one play. Just don't get hurt. Go out there and give him a chance to get on the field as a varsity player on the field. And then they called timeout, and Carlos said, yeah, let's just do it now. And the defensive coordinator at Cedar Hill, now winning big now, 45-17, said, no, put him in the backfield and let him carry the football. And so Titus wasn't real sure about that. He dropped
the ball, and
picked it up and then ran for the 58-yard touchdown. But that's a pretty good note about Built Ford Tough, adding him today and this week to their Players of the Week mention. Baylor's defense, let's see here. Baylor allowed 20 against Texas State, and if they played them again, unless it was a 65-20 type game that got out of hand, and so you give up some points down the stretch, they gave up 20 to Texas State. Texas State averages 22 points a game. They gave up 7 to Texas Southern. They're averaging 32 a game, and they should give up only 7. They gave up 7 to Kansas, and Kansas is averaging 17 a game. 29 to Iowa State. They're just under 33 a game. 24 to Oklahoma State. They're averaging 30 a game. 20 to West Virginia. They're averaging 31 a game. 24 to Brigham Young. They're averaging 31 points a game. 24 to Texas, and they're averaging against everybody else almost 42 points a game. So that trend right there has been why they're right now where they are at 7-1 with 4 games left to play in TCU on Saturday.
Yeah, they played. We expected this to be a good defense. Unfortunately, here's what I've started to do, guys. We're right in the middle of this run, and they're, securely in the thick of things for the Big 12 championship race. It's them and the 2 Oklahoma schools at this, as of right now, as we stand. Could change depending on results this weekend, but we knew coming in they were going to have a good defense. Dave Aranda is your head coach, right? And then you got Ron Roberts, and you've got all your assistants, and you've got guys like Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard and Raleigh Tejada and all JT Woods, like all these upperclassmen, and enjoy it now, because next year, I think as long as Aranda's around, they're going to have a good defense, and him and Roberts. But talent wise, they really had this year built up for them. You know what I mean? Like with everybody that decided to come back. So this is going to be the last run of, this particular group. And right now it's pretty fun. And if it remains fun the next few weeks, then that bodes really well for Baylor. But enjoy this group because Petrie, Bernard, all these guys, it's a special one. It is.
And given the fact that there are a lot of teams this year that were full of super seniors and seniors, like Iowa State, that everybody thought, well, there's no way. There's no way that team's going to lose that much because they're full of seniors and super seniors. North Carolina has a bunch of guys like that. Didn't work out for them, and Baylor's made it work. And it was one of those things that everybody just thought, like, well, you got seniors and super seniors that were good last year. It's going to work out again. Well, not necessarily. Maybe some of them should have gone, taken their shot. But it's worked out for Baylor, over and over again.
Matt Carver on the chat room, score 30 is the Baylor motto, football motto. We score 30. We win every game that we have left on the schedule. Of course, it's TCU this week, Tuesday, 2 days from now on Saturday. Then they host Oklahoma, and of course we know what that could mean. Oklahoma has the off week to try to tweak up a few things that they're doing as well. Chat room's going, text room is going, 254-339-1122.
Yeah, the only team on the schedule that can score 31 that you'd worry about is Oklahoma. You look at TCU; they're not scoring 31. Kansas State's not scoring 31. Texas Tech's not scoring 31.
Most likely not. Unless you throw up on yourself.
Week by week, they're not doing that. They're not averaging it. So score 30 is a nice reasonable goal to have. Now against Oklahoma, you might have to score 32, but you might have to score 38. Who knows?
Might have to score 45 too. We don't know if that game gets into a track meet. So that's kind of where we are. A couple of notes there. The Texas Tech job, of course, they continue their search. Has been, there's all sorts of, hey, by the way, I have a level 3 source or whatever. There's no question in my mind that Texas Tech has interest in Joey McGuire, but they have interest in others as well. That's part of the process. On the text just a minute ago from, where was it? From Chris, I hope Baylor has negotiated or renegotiated Coach Aranda's contract. Substantial buyouts should a team like LSU try to poach him. Quality coaches are rare and also in demand. And his name came up. It was been about 3 weeks ago when it started popping with LSU and Ed Orgeron. Southern Cal, of course, had their opening as well. I think Dave Aranda's handled it very well, what he has said, and including if you missed Monday's interview with Dave Aranda, we're going to play that again today, the one-on-one. And he gets into coaching searches and changes with us. We'll have that today at around 5:30 as well. From Scott Casterly Rock, did someone say hacksaw Jim Duggan? No, it's Max Duggan. He's quarterback at TCU. Bo, speaking of that, we're going to have Craig, Jimmy Hart is right from WWE. Jimmy Hart is going to be on the show sometime on Monday for the future spring WrestleMania event.
Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, Memphis legend, and a guy who goes way back, 70s, 80s, probably his prime time period, 90s as well. But Jimmy Hart's been an institution in pro wrestling, although he hasn't been on the main stage in a couple of decades, really. But he still, goes to conventions and stuff, and I've seen him around. And regardless, he could just not appear anywhere for a while, and he's still like a Hall of Fame type of personality. So be interesting to talk to good old Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, so okay, I think you and I should sit on the couch and just watch that.
No, we're just gonna walk away and let Craig handle that. However long he wants to go with it.
Ours would be like that one. That a couple wrestlers who Craig's had on at Super Bowls have asked me, like, hey, this was really good. It's not just like, hey, will you put me in a headlock?
Yeah. So is that Bret the Hitman Hart?
No, there's absolutely zero relation. Right. Brett's Canadian for one, and Jimmy's all the way American. He's a Memphis guy. Jimmy Hart.
Steve Sarkisian today. I knew what I signed up for. Talking about Texas and their 4-4 start. Understands the fans' frustration. Those are some of what he said today as well. He said he's also had pressure where he's been at Washington and USC. I don't think, even with USC being a big blue blood, still not the same. I think that's something, having had previous head coaching experience at a couple of other high-profile universities, you understand the expectation, you understand the challenge, you understand the arena that you're in, and then you can be a little bit more comfortable in that arena of what those expectations are. I recognize the level of frustration without us winning a couple of these close ball games, but I can assure you that nobody's more frustrated than we are. Nobody more frustrated than our players, and the frustration comes from we know how close we are as well.
This is a storyline that needs to die. Was he asked if he knew what he was walking into? I would have to assume he was, right?
Yeah, this is part of his presser from earlier today, yeah.
Okay, because I think Steve Sarkisian, I mean, I don't know the context with that, but I'm pretty sure Steve Sarkisian knew what the hell he was walking into. Like, why do we act like the coaches don't realize what everybody else talks about all the time, which is the Texas job has a lot of high stakes and a lot of pressure? Like, you think the coaches probably know that too? Of course they do, but they don't care because that's what they want. They want that pressure. They want that prestige. They want that brand name. So Sarkisian's not overwhelmed or surprised just because they've lost a few games. That's not why they're losing games. They're losing games because he needs to fix up the roster more to his liking. Probably needs to get a couple bad apples out of there. And he just needs to, put his own fingerprints on the program. So I think Texas will be fine. I don't know if they're going to be winning the Big 12. I don't know if they'll turn around and win that in enough time before they head off to the SEC.
Well, they may only have one more chance.
Yeah. And who knows? And I'm not really thinking they're going to go in there or Oklahoma and just rock that world. And Oklahoma's just going to roll in there like they run the Big 12. But Sarkisian knows what's. I like Sarkisian. I do, and I don't like many Texas Longhorn branded personalities. I mean, but I didn't like Herman. Strong was whatever. I liked Mac all right, but I like Sarkisian. I think he's a good football coach. I think he's going to get them improving, and they'll be a better team next year. And I think they'll win a couple games down this stretch, get to a bowl game, and do their thing there. But if there was anything that caught him off guard, it certainly wasn't the pressure.
I think maybe, like most people, think that there might be a little bit more depth that hasn't been developed.
They don't have depth yet.
But they don't have depth yet. I think that was the only thing that catches most coaches off guard. I think sometimes coaches get caught off guard by how bad the culture is inside of a locker room. Like how much you have to really rally the troops, and you can see that at different places where somebody comes in highly touted and they think the roster's better, and they might have, been 7-5 or 6-6 a couple years before, just based on the grace of the talent that was left over, and that's not there anymore. Walks in, the locker room's toxic, and there's other things you have to deal with. But I think the one thing that would have surprised him maybe the most is, there's not as much depth as maybe you thought when you actually look at these guys between the white lines. But I don't think as far as any of the expectations at Texas, nobody takes that job and walks into the room full of boosters going, guys. No, this is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, here's Sooner JJ. Well, he hit it on the nose here. He said Sark needs to get some bad apples out of UT as well as that one bad monkey.
Yeah, well, he talked about that. He said it wasn't a distraction, and I would imagine it's not. I mean, if anything, it's just a goofy story, really, when all is said and done. It could have, the way it started off, it could have been like really, just out of this world embarrassing, but that seems to have died down, and that's not that big of a deal. I certainly don't think it'll have any effect on the way they play this weekend. And you know what? They've got a big challenge, because playing Iowa State names was one thing already, but having to do it after Iowa State just got beat up by West Virginia in shocking fashion. I think they're going to be ready to play some football and Ames and strap it up tomorrow, because they know they got to win that game. And, that should be a good little contest. But, in addition, he also, I'm sure, if he didn't know what the Texas job was going to entail before this week, which I know he did, but he certainly knows it now. Between the monkey story that he has to answer and talk about in the press conference, there was the whole Joshua Moore thing at practice yesterday. He talked about that, and he said something along the lines of, like, there's nothing to it, and whichever one of you guys felt it was important enough to tweet that out or report that's your bad, not ours. So I like that he said that, because one thought I had was, okay, it's notable, like Joshua Moore's getting into a Sarkisian, but I also thought last night, like, that happens in football practices all the time. Like, I know Baylor guys get into fights with not like fist fights, obviously, but like fights with coaches. Guys on the current roster who had issues with coaches and got into it at a practice or two. But you know what? That's what happens in the heat of the competition and the coaching. And so that's what I assume the Joshua Moore thing was as well. But yeah.
All right, Armstrong, do we have the Mike Boynton audio from yesterday? Do we have that? Can we hear from Armstrong?
I think so. I potted it up, so I think we should be able to hear from Armstrong. Maybe not.
No, we're not.
All right, we're going to come back. We'll break here. We're going to come back, And Jacob Unruh, he covers Oklahoma State men's basketball. Get his feelings on what it's been like the last couple of days after the NCAA came back and denied the appeal of Oklahoma State, and what the reaction has been, his reaction to being there as well, and the emotions of Mike Boynton. I didn't get a chance to actually hear it and see it until yesterday evening once I kind of got myself back home. And I mean, wow. I mean, there are tears rolling down the right side of his cheek and the emotions. We're going to come back with that. And then Jacob Unruh, who covers Oklahoma State men's basketball for the Daily Oklahoman in Oklahoma. That's next on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Even though we just lost baseball season, it's over now, and there might be a lockout, so hope you got it in while you could. It's still the best time for sports betting. NFL in full swing. College football getting down to the nitty-gritty. Basketball, college basketball starts next week for men's basketball. Women's basketball's already started. So much stuff going on. NHL, NBA, UFC, all those things you can bet on at betus.com, America's premier sports book. And they've got longevity. Almost 30 years in the business. Right now, 125% bonus when you use our promo code SICKM125 with cash. Or if you're into cryptocurrency, 200% bonus with the code SICKM200. So go to betus.com, use the promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200 today, SICKM125 or SICKM200.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears. Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
So for those of you who are listening to us on the app, there's going to be a pocket here of about 45 seconds or a minute where you may not hear what we're about to play to the YouTube audience, and we apologize for that. But since we're on location today in Mansfield and away from our studio, it kind of gets a little bit tricky with technology. This is, and I want to play it on YouTube because I want you to see, if you didn't yesterday, the emotions and the face of Oklahoma State men's basketball's coach Mike Boynton on the NCAA denying the repeal of a one-year postseason ban. Here it is.
So the message is clear because we had a $300 violation. No failure to monitor. No lack of institutional control. No recruiting violations. No head coach responsibility. No players playing ineligible. So if you got some of those things going on, don't do what we did. What we did was we asked them that we work with them through this process. On January 20th of 2020, I flew to Atlanta to do the first round of this process with the NCAA. The next day, we played OU here. It was important that I be there. I went to Atlanta for no reason, to cooperate with them, to cooperate with John Duncan and Sharika Montgomery and Russell Register. And then this year, on February 7th, while in Lawrence, Kansas, for a game, the day we played, we had an appeal hearing. And we cooperated. And we showed up. And we'd answer their questions. And we provided all the information they asked. So if you're one of those other schools, be careful what they ask you for. Stan Wilcox should be ashamed.
So that's Mike Boynton, the head coach at Oklahoma State. I remember once after a game in Waco where his team came in and played Baylor about as hard as anybody. And, of course, Baylor and Scott Drew been on a nice run, including the national title. I like him. I like him a lot, even well before the video. But I saw that and his comments and the passion and emotion. And Jacob Unruh now joins us. He writes for the Oklahoman and covers Oklahoma State men's basketball. Jacob, what's been the reaction to not so much right now the NCAA denying the appeal? We'll get to that. To Mike Boynton, his emotions, his passion for his basketball program.
I think everyone is rallying around Mike. Yesterday was the very emotional, passionate version of Mike, and an angry version of Mike too. He was very controlled, but he's very angry and emotional about this, and very hurt by this. And he'd already had the full support of his team and coaches and administration and everyone around him. But I think he really rallied people around him, the players, the program, and I think he really brought a lot of attention to some of the issues of the NCAA right now, and just that they need to figure some things out, because clearly this was not a good decision by the NCAA, and it's hurting players that shouldn't be hurt. And Mike went to bat for him yesterday.
I think most people on the surface, Jacob, think, oh, this has to, if they didn't read about what it was, this has to do with the Adidas scandal and the FBI investigation, which Oklahoma State did get caught up in. But this is not about that. This is about $300 that a player got. And I don't think there's anybody in America who understands this, much less anybody in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it has to do with the FBI scandal. I mean, former associate coach Lamont Evans was involved in an FBI scandal and the Adidas scandal, and took money, but he started taking money in South Carolina, came to OSU, continued it, and then he gave 3 separate $100 payments to Jeffrey Carroll, who, once they figured that out, they made him pay it back. He set out a few games on their own as they investigated. And Lamont Evans was fired and subsequently charged, and he served a 3-month prison sentence in federal prison. And OSU did everything it possibly could to fix the situation, because they had no idea. But they're essentially getting punished for something they had no control over, and money that was paid to a player that was paid by Lamont Evans to the player, and then that was paid back.
So, in terms of on the court and the impact that has, I know, Cade Cunningham's gone to the NBA, but Boynton's got them going in a positive direction. Just how much of a blow, because of the expectations maybe that were out there this year, is this for Oklahoma State basketball and the fan base?
It's a pretty big blow as far as expectations. This was a team that I think was already pretty much expected to make the NCAA tournament and maybe make a deeper run. They lose Cade Cunningham, and that's the best player in the country last year, and he did a lot of tremendous things for him and carried them into the postseason, and carried them to the Big 12 title game and carried them to the second round of the NCAA tournament. But I think they had a chance to be deeper and better this year, and they still do, but they don't get to show it in March now. But they have, their team has a deeper roster with transfers. I think that there's more experience with guys. Avery Anderson was coming in his own. He's got his 3rd year of experience coming in now, and Isaac Likely is a great veteran. And then you add 5-star transfers like Moussa Cisse and Bryce Thompson, and had Tyreek Smith from Texas Tech and Woody Newton from Syracuse. And you've got big men now. You got guys that can shoot off the bench, and they really had this team moving in this direction. And you thought this team could be really dangerous once we get to March, and now it's going to kind of be a what if with this team.
Jacob, I don't know if this makes sense when I ask this question, but do you think if Cade Cunningham was still on the Oklahoma State roster, that the NCAA would have had the same decision? Because they're selfish as hell, and we know that, and they want all the money they can get, and Cade Cunningham being in the tournament makes money for them. Do you think if he was still on the roster and eligible at Oklahoma State, they would have done the same thing?
That's a good question, and it's I'd wondered this myself yesterday, because Mike talked about the appeal hearing was February 7th, the day of the game at Kansas.
Yep.
And it took 9 months for a decision. So to me it looks like, hey, like they were like, let's how long does it take to make that decision? And 9 months seems like a really long time for a process that initially was supposed to take, I don't know, 100 days or something, I think is what they say in their rules. And they did it in 9 months. And so it makes you wonder if Cade had a factor. It's very easy to think that, but I mean, there's no proof obviously, but Cade had stayed another year, which was never going to happen. But if he just stayed another year, maybe they're still playing, maybe they go ahead and get it over with. I don't know, but it's very easy to kind of put your conspiracy antennas on and kind of wonder,
Yeah.
Was there any legal recourse they have outside the NCAA? Like, could they sue and maybe get in to the tournament based on any kind of like temporary injunction?
Well, that's the first question I asked yesterday. If there was what's the next step if they had any legal path, and they don't feel like they really do right now. Nothing's in the works that they would talk about at least. And because essentially the problem is not a lot of cases are won in the legal system against the NCAA. Generally, the rule kind of is, you're a voluntary member of this organization. So you've got to follow the rules and the punishments. And so, the courts tend to kind of lean that direction. So OSU right now kind of feels like it's just throwing away money if they were to file a lawsuit. And so, I don't see anything right now, but, if some donor wants to step in and pay for something like that, then maybe that happens. But also then OSU could also say, well, if you want to pay $1 million to do a lawsuit, why don't we just spend that on something else on campus?
Yeah.
So, it really felt yesterday like this was there was a finality to this. Like, this is it. And OSU, I think, is ready to move on in a way too. Though they're certainly not happy, but I think there's a finality here.
All right. Now, I know you cover men's basketball, but Oklahoma State, and we've had other guys that do, Scott Wright among others, that have covered Oklahoma State. And just a quick note, obviously they bounced back from that tough loss to Iowa State and throttled Kansas, which they should do. But everything focused in on this team still is going to be right there in the end, going to probably play for a Big 12 title. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I kind of, OSU seems to be on that trajectory. I mean, I think Mike Gundy kind of alarmed us on Monday with his kind of somber mood about playing West Virginia. It seemed like he was a little more worried than I expected for a team that's physical and can really cause some problems for some teams. They're playing well right now. They did a lot of damage to a really good Iowa State defense, and I think that alarmed Mike more than anything. But I think OSU's defense is better. I think OSU's defense can carry them into Arlington at this point and really kind of see what happens from there with this defense.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Jacob. Good stuff. Good luck, Jacob.
Awesome.
Unruh. Thanks for jumping on. It's late notice, too, with the Oklahoman covers Oklahoma State basketball. Here are some of the text or chat room. We're going to, by the way, have another guest coming up in a minute. The NCAA has been and will continue to be full of you-know-what. I like the leadership. I would run through a brick wall for that man. Then there's more and more about his emotions and his passion. And there's one that's kind of questioning whether or not his emotions were real. I can't imagine.
I think they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you watch that and think that they weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you got no feeling, man. I know that it's typical to question, kind of like when we see these big press conferences stuff. I've seen a lot of fake tears in press conferences, mostly from politicians or C-list celebrities, but I think that was absolutely genuine. I think Mike Boynton was pissed off, and rightfully so.
From Chris, you know what Oklahoma State's crime is? They're not North Carolina or Kentucky, and more and more and more and more.
Their problem is they did the right thing and admitted it.
No, and so did Stephen F. Austin. So did Stephen F. Austin.
So because they admitted it, they got. I mean, it's upside down.
Cooperate with the law, right? And you might get a year, take it off your whatever. I mean, they did it, and they still for $300. Now they did. It was wrong what they did. What the Lamont Evans did. But I wonder what's going on with Brad Underwood, because he was there during that time. When we come back, we continue. We're not done. We're going to take you all the way up until 6 o'clock today. Our next guest, Chad Brendel. What's been the reaction from Cincinnati Bearcat fans this week to the college football playoff standings? This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza, owner Bob Mock, with 4 locations in the Central Texas area. And there are over 1,000 Marco's Pizza stores throughout the country. For a lot of you who watch us on YouTube from various parts of the country, enjoy the Marco's Pizza. Dough made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket a golden crust and a heavily melt of Marco's Pizza that will blow your mind. Again, 4 locations here in the Waco area, China Spring, Woodway, also Belmead, the new location in Robinson. Again, the dough made from scratch, Italian family sauce, the original recipe to this day from back when they first opened up back in the late 1980s. Also, loads of premium toppings, including crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggie pizza, and more. It's Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Get an early start. The Black Friday sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality. The 1500 Lone Star cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Black Friday sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
A sagging rear end. It's ugly, it's embarrassing, and it's a sign you haven't been taking care of things. Hey, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters, and we know you've seen it. A truck pulling an RV, a boat, or a big trailer, and the back end of the truck is lower than the front. In the industry, we call it a floppy jalopy, a scooty booty, or most commonly, badonkadonk down. It's not just an eyesore. When a truck's rear end is sagging, it can be dangerous because it affects the handling of the truck and can make driving unsafe. But there is a fix to this unsafe and unsightly condition. Take your truck to Pickup Outfitters for a little rear end suspension upgrade like Super Springs, Sumo Springs, or even an airbag suspension kit. Your truck will be safer, handle better, and most importantly, it will look better. People will start noticing the improvement to your rear end right away. And isn't that what it's all about? Get your rear suspension upgrade from the pros at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour. Max Olson, theathletic.com, will join us just after 4 o'clock. And now joined by Chad Brendel. He covers Cincinnati Bearcat football, BearcatJournal.com with us. Thanks for your time, Chad, as always. What was the reaction? And I feel like most likely most everyone saw it coming, but what was the reaction after Tuesday's rankings were released?
A lot of people expected it or thought it would be something of that nature. I think, and I forget this every year, and then the show happens and I get reminded every year of the thing that makes you more angry than being sixth is just the way that they patronize anybody that's not in the club. Yep. We respected Cincinnati. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I'm going to walk around with the sound of Maury Povich, where he says, "And the lie detector test determined that was a lie." I'm just going to play it every time Gary Barta speaks.
Oh,
Ched, is there any feeling of encouragement that keep on the path and they'll be there because there'll be things happening in front of them? Or was that so much of a punch in the gut that you'll just have to wait for some kind of miracle to happen on that last night?
Well, I think here's what was the most telling, and I saw you guys had a guest on this week that kind of broke down the way that the corruption actually works, right? Because Cincinnati being at 6 isn't actually the problem. The problem is Houston and SMU not being in the poll or in the ranking, because now Cincinnati doesn't have any more opportunities on their schedule for quality wins or big wins, because they'll just basically at this point, the only way you can get a quality win is to beat somebody that the College Football Playoff Committee ranks. And if they don't rank them, they might as well be 103rd. Like, they could be 26th, they could be 103rd. It doesn't matter. So without the ability to beat Houston or SMU with a number by their name, I don't see any way without just complete chaos. I mean, I could see Oregon losing again. You've got to think Ohio State gets in. Does a 2-loss Bama get in? Here's what worried me about Bama, and a lot of people didn't catch this, and I've talked about it a lot this week. Did you notice when Gary Barta started talking about like what they discussed in the room? He said they had a really tough time working through 3 through 10. What does that tell you? That tells you they walked in the room, they said Georgia 1, Alabama 2. Now we can talk.
Yeah.
Alabama lost to a 2-loss Texas A&M. And they're not even in the conversation for third.
Yeah,
I'm worked up this week. I'm a little worked up.
No, it's just funny. It's because, they lost, yes, but they went to overtime. But then nobody mentions that they also lost to a backup quarterback, and and there's so many other things. It is ridiculous. What's kind of the feeling just in terms of not the playoff, but the way they played the past couple weeks? I know has got people maybe a little bit antsy, a little closer than maybe expected. What have you made of the Bearcats here as of late?
The biggest problem has been just this idea that both Navy and Tulane had. And if people watch it, like, they would have understood, they were just going to run the ball. Like, people, especially those two teams, and we'll see how it is going forward. People have decided, like, passing on Cincinnati is just a terrible idea. Like, you can't move the ball through the air consistently enough against that secondary to really be effective. So Navy and Tulane both said 4 downs, whatever. We're going to run it 4 times. And if we get a first down, we continue to move the clock. I thought Cincinnati could have done a better job on 3rd and 4th down at times in getting stops. But other than that, I mean, I think the offense pressed a little too. Like the Tulane game, the offense had 1 drive in the first quarter. They touched the ball 1 time in the entire quarter. It was a 99-yard touchdown drive, but that's not sustainable. So, I think they've just been a little off, and a lot of it has been because both of those teams said, we're probably not going to win, but the only way we can make it even, respectable is to just chew 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock every time we touch the ball, shorten the game, and hope Cincinnati doesn't get enough offensive possessions to do damage. I mean, you guys have been following football your whole life. How many times are you going to feel really good if your team scores 50% of the time it touches the ball?
Yeah, I know.
They scored 50% of the time they touched the ball against Tulane, and it's looked at as like they played a terrible game.
Hey, but Oklahoma's struggling. That's okay, though.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal.
Yeah, if you put Clemson's logo on Cincinnati's jersey and the same resume, where would they be?
Here's what's crazy to me. They beat Tulane by 19. The spread was 24. Like, that's right about where it was supposed to be. But it's talked about as if Cincinnati played the worst game in the history of the football program. Guess what? Tulane lost to Oklahoma by 5.
And had the ball late in the game. Had the ball to do something with it. Yeah.
And got stopped on a close 4th down play. I can count the number of points Oklahoma won that game by on one hand. But that, I guess, but Oklahoma's at 8. But the thing is, they set it up where, if Oklahoma goes undefeated, they'll have to beat Baylor. They'll have to beat Oklahoma State. They'll probably have to beat one of them again. And they'll pass Cincinnati because they'll have those 3 big wins. And Cincinnati won't have any because SMU and Houston are, in the abyss. The Fresno State's the one that really triggered me on Tuesday. There's only one reason a 2-loss Fresno State is in the poll.
Right.
Because Oregon beat them by 7.
Uh-huh.
And Oregon's only top 25 win all season was going to just be Ohio State because the Pac-12 outside of Oregon stinks. So they had to put Fresno State in, and then as a result, they had to put San Diego State in. And now Houston and SMU are out because giving Cincinnati juice doesn't work. Giving Oregon juice does.
And I'm taking SMU over those teams all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
All
and
day.
Houston. I'll take it.
And probably Houston right now, too. Yeah.
But by the way, on the chat room, they're all saying you should run for president. Every one of them.
Yeah. Chad, I think Smokey just gave you the plan for Cincinnati. What you do is you tell them they need to play the next 4 games in Alabama uniforms.
Yeah, that's right.
This is
change the logos.
Change the logo and then confuse the committee.
Well, here's the other disappointing part. Because SMU's not ranked, Cincinnati can't even pick up a quality loss. They just had a quality loss.
Oh, man. Hey, we're always thinking about you in your family. And Chad, we wanted to check in. I knew you'd be fired up. And we will stay in touch, man. Good luck. Cincinnati has lost 1 football game in 2 years to Georgia by 3.
By 3. And really it was by 1 because there was a safety with 1 second left on the clock. That was a 1-point game. Georgia kicked a 53-yard field goal to go up 1 with 6 seconds left.
Chad, does it give anybody, I mean, I know right now it's not going to help in any way, but is this at least make that Big 12 eventual, entry to where if you're having a season like this, that's not going to be a concern? Is that just, it can't come soon enough at this point?
Yeah, there was actually somebody on my message board the other night that was like, screw it. Go next. Like, it's got 2022. Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care. Got to make it happen right now. But what they did to Oklahoma's got to make you a little uneasy too, although that's a lot of Oklahoma's fault because they played like crap for most of the year.
All right, man. Be good, Chad. Thank you.
You too.
Appreciate it. Chad,
appreciate you guys having me.
Always
love coming on.
Hey, Big 12 brothers, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Chad Brendel, part of that Chapter 1 with UCF, and of course Brigham Young and Houston and Cincinnati.
Okay. We need to do a roundtable when the final rankings come out with Brendel and Bartu.
Oh my God! And we just silence our microphones. All right, the chat room. A lot of you want to vote for Chad Brendel for president. That's possible. Since he lost to Houston is a very bad loss because they were heavily favored, but nobody runs circles around anyone like the Houston Cougars. That's from Eric. And there's so many people that agree with Chad and what we said yesterday and what David Bartu say. And then, you know what? I never even thought about the bottom of the top 25 until it was kind of brought up yesterday. Wait a minute. SMU and Houston, they're gone.
Oh, look at Mississippi State. Yeah, look at Mississippi State. They've got three losses, but they were good teams, though. But yet one team has Mississippi State's got 3 losses, but given the benefit of the doubt because of a couple other games they played. Oklahoma's penalized for just not looking good with a completely different quarterback and put it 8th. And you can go on and on and on with comparisons of teams like Cincinnati, for example. It's such a joke. It's such a joke.
It's part of Rusty Knowles theory.
The propping up, I think, happens after, because I think what happens is they determine who their top 4 by the top 10 are. And then once they do that, they realize that Gary Barta's got to walk his happy ass out in the room and explain why. And there's not really reasons. It's just, this is what we like.
Why would you want to be? Did they get paid? Did he get $1 million? Did Jeff Long, is that worth being known as an idiot or a conspirator or whoever it is?
Yeah, I mean, but they do. So then they have to be like, okay, well, so if Oregon's going to be number 3, then we have to make sure that this.
So we walked in and we had to discuss 3 through 10. Like he said, they had Georgia, Bama locked in at 1-2 and arguing not against Georgia. And Alabama might end up being right there in the middle of it because of who they are and how good they can be. But they've had their moments. Florida took them to the end. Yeah. Now Florida's off the map.
It never matters, though. No, it doesn't ever matter.
When we come back, Max Olson, theathletic.com, one of their national college football writers, 365 Sports. Pioneer still in pipe. How about this? 1943. I'm looking out. I'm driving into Mansfield today, and there is all sorts of construction, big buildings, metal buildings, and of course there's some that are huge warehouse buildings as well. You want to build something, you need to know where to find Pioneer Steel and Pipe, and it's easy. They're in Waco, and they're also in Bryan. PioneerBoys.com online. Open Monday through Friday, of course, and most of the time that's where contractors and those who build or those who get product and they take it to construction sites. And then even open Saturdays from 8 until noon if you need to go by there as well. But the bottom line is 1943. Think about all the things that have been up and down and changed throughout our world, our economy, of course, America as well. And here they are. Bigger, better, faster, stronger, and never, ever losing focus that you matter. And you are why they are in business, the customer. And the product is fantastic as well. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, Waco and Bryan, building a brand new location in Waco at pioneerboys.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
A lot of window dressing here on 2nd and goal. Smith comes back into the backfield. They run Bohannon with blockers in front and into the end zone. Gary Bohannon.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We'll have Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, a little bit later in the hour at 4:30. Craig's off the radar at 4:45, and Paul's top 5 at 5:55, joined by Max Olson, national writer, college football writer for theathletic.com on Sikkim 365 Radio. Max, the first standings came out, and of course there's all sorts of controversy and conspiracies and whatever else. And then there's some that just don't care about it because it is kind of a week-to-week thing that they make up along the way, it seems like in some cases. What are your thoughts about week 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the Big 12 side, I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about here, really. I mean, I think that you look at the position that Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State are in, at least they have opportunities in front of them. They've got some really big games still left to be played here that you know can put you in position. Whereas I think if you look at the ACC, Pac-12, and AAC, I think some of the rankings from this first go of it, would suggest that they're not going to have that many chances to play top 25 teams the rest of the way. Whereas, certainly Baylor's going to get plenty. And if you get to the Big 12 title game, I think that's probably going to still be a top 15 matchup. So I don't think there's too much to worry about from the Big 12 side. And of course, as you'd expect, a lot of fascination with the Cincinnati spot and, just the lack of respect or perceived lack of respect for the Americans.
Max,
go ahead.
Max, on Cincinnati in particular, I mean, what do you kind of say if you're them or think if you're them? Let's just get to the Big 12 as soon as possible because we just had Chad Brindle who covers Cincinnati on, and I mean, they're unbeaten, but, even with SMU's ranking now, that game here in a couple weeks doesn't have the same kind of oomph to it that it once did maybe, even a week ago. So, I mean, if they win out, do they just have to hope for a prayer at this point, or do you think you'd probably still be enough to maybe find a way into this thing?
I mean, I don't think it's that bad because we are seeing enough upsets and top 25 losses each week that I think there is a chance that SMU and Houston are going to be able to move into that top 25 here at some point. So I think that can help Cincinnati. But the big thing, like Cincinnati's whole pitch on getting the playoffs is not like weekly dominance. They haven't been doing that. The pitch is going 13-0 and having that win over Notre Dame. And that win over Notre Dame is going to keep looking better week after week. If you look at their schedule, other than maybe like Virginia, I don't see a game left on their schedule that challenges them. I think they're going to go 11-1, and they're already number 10 right now, I believe. So, as long as Notre Dame keeps rolling and is the New Year's Six team and all that, I still think that's a pretty compelling part of the Cincinnati resume that is hard to knock. And I mean, you look at the other teams, like that's a better win than Alabama has at this point.
Yep. Max also with us, theathletic.com, on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Gary Patterson, after an incredible run at TCU, although he was at practice a little bit this week as TCU gets ready for Baylor on Saturday in Fort Worth, out after 21 years. Your thoughts about that story?
Yeah, pretty shocking. I mean, as you guys know, can you imagine Gary Patterson not coaching the Baylor game?
Yeah.
No. He's trying to now, though. He's doing everything he can but coach it, but he's in the middle of it.
Yeah. That's, I know how much that one is always meant to him, but certainly shocking to have that come out on Halloween night there. Certainly, you started hearing things last week, not long after Texas Tech opened up, that TCU was potentially going to be, getting ready for a coaching search as well. But I honestly, at the time when I heard it, I didn't really totally believe it because it's Gary Patterson. He's a legend there. You figured, man, maybe there's a way he could, get to 6 wins and, buy more time and all that. But, clearly they were, this run they've had in Big 12 play has not been nearly good enough. And I really thought that TCU team had a chance to, contend for a Big 12 title this year. So you combine a disappointing year with, 3 pretty mediocre seasons, preceded it. And you see why they're making the change. But, man, it's hard to picture somebody else on the sideline, whether it's Jerry Kill or whoever's doing it next year. It's hard to picture somebody that's not Gary Patterson running that program. What a legend he was for, really, literally taking them to, impossible new heights at that program. And it's a bummer that it's such a bitter ending there in some ways. And hopefully people can move past that and be back to honoring the guy here, in the not too distant future.
So another, now opening in that coaching carousel, Max, who do you think probably announces a coach first, Texas Tech or TCU?
I think Jeff Traylor staying at UTSA means that Texas Tech probably has to have maybe a fuller coaching search now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I could see Texas Tech getting it done sooner, but I don't know. Even the reports that last night out of folks that cover TCU that they're looking at Jay Norvell and Deion Sanders and Tony Elliott, Kellen Moore. It's hard for me to tell. Is that a little bit of a smokescreen because they think they've got Sonny Dykes locked up, or is that suggest that Sonny Dykes isn't coming and this trip can go in all sorts of different directions? It's hard to know what to make of that, but certainly I think if SMU's not playing in the conference title game this year, then that probably makes it a little bit easier to get that wrapped up at the end of November if you're TCU, if that's the hire. But certainly, I know it's very early on here for TCU.
That's kind of a gumbo of names in that you just mentioned. From Kellen Moore, who's had a great run of late with the Cowboys, to Deion Sanders, who's been a head coach for a year and a half, to Elliott, of course, one of the best coordinators in college football. I mean, it's good that they're kind of, if in fact any of that is even true, that it's kind of in different angles. It's not just like one, let's go through a retread.
It's not just Jeff Traylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny that, Jeremiah Donati said this week that, he thought it probably would be hard to hire a defensive-minded head coach at TCU just because you have so much to live up to, in following Gary Patterson. So I am curious kind of what direction that search takes. I'm not sure Deion is an offensive or defensive coach. He's not really coached long enough to have, be proven it either. And I don't quite get that one. I believe he's in the hospital right now too, and has been for a few weeks. So I don't know how seriously to take that one, to be honest. But clearly, if they're focusing in on offensive names, you could see lots of really interesting ones linked to that job.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us, and first week of the college football rankings out, coaching changes as well. Baylor took care of business against Texas. It wasn't easy. They had to come from 11 down, but they methodically just kept going throughout the second half and eventually controlled that game the last quarter and a half. Your thoughts about Baylor and, of course, TCU this weekend? And we're an upset away to avoid an upset away from having a hell of a matchup between Oklahoma and Baylor for the second time in 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, man, and what if it's as dramatic as the last one in Waco? My goodness, we better bring the heart medication and everything. You said it. I mean, just really impressive second half performance, I thought, from Baylor. And there was, I felt like through that fourth quarter, there was really no doubt that Baylor was going to win that game. And even the fake punt by Texas, that was so bad, and killed their chances in some way, that you could see there's kind of that desperation from Texas that they knew that they were kind of, running out of gas here against Baylor. And you're seeing a lot of that, predictably, for year one at Texas, you're kind of seeing that reckoning now of like, oh man, is that Tom Herman's fault or is that Steve Sarkisian's fault or what? What are we supposed to make of this? And of course, that's happening in year one at Texas. It's happened to the last two coaches. Not surprising, but just continue to be impressed by how tough this Baylor team plays and just man, how well coached they've been this year. I mean, I've just been so impressed by you think back to watching that team last year versus this year, it's just completely different.
Max, what do you think of Auburn and A&M in SEC action?
Yeah, I think this one timed up pretty well for A&M. They're coming off the bye week. I think they're coming back fresh from this one. Plenty of time to prepare for that stretch run. And whereas Auburn's been playing really just a hell of a schedule lately, and playing a bunch of ranked teams in a row. And here's another one. So I like the way this sort of times up here for A&M. And certainly the thing that we're going to be asking about A&M, I think probably every week going forward, especially after the way they played against Alabama, is just what are we going to get from Calzada? Is he going to play like we've seen him capable of playing before? And if so, and they can run the ball on first, second down, I think that A&M's got a chance to go on a nice little run here. But this is a big one, and Brian Harson's been pretty impressive in how he's taken over this Auburn program and in a super competitive year in that division, and figured out a way to play well with the players he inherited.
Max, I'm starting to kind of dig deeper into the Heisman Trophy candidates. We saw what Kenneth Walker III's done. We know about Corral at Mississippi or Bryce Young at Alabama or whoever.
Yep.
Can Caleb Williams is he making enough inroads in just enough time with what they have left with Baylor, Oklahoma State, possible Big 12 title game to get into this discussion with only a few starts?
I think so. I mean, I think it's possible. And I that's sort of setting aside the debate of, how many games do you have to play in a season to be a Heisman, finalist or whatever, which, people can have their own kind of interpretation on that. Clearly, he's been one of the most impactful guys on this college football season so far since he got plugged in against Texas. But part of it's just the rest of the field. I mean, you're right. Kenneth Walker had an amazing game against Michigan and deserves all the praise this week as the guy that should be at the top of the list here. But Bryce Young, I think, has been pretty good. I think he's probably being a little bit overrated, but I think he's been good this year. Matt Corral's been really prolific, but is Ole Miss going to stay in the top 25 and be really relevant? I don't know. I could see a guy like C.J. Stroud from Ohio State who's putting up great numbers and has really bounced back since the Oregon game. I could see him getting in it, but yeah, I mean, who else are we really talking about here? I mean, it's it's fun to see Jordan Davis from Georgia get talked about and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this has always usually been a quarterback award, and I think as long as Caleb Williams keeps playing like he did in October, then yeah, I would think that people should take him seriously.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Are we not going to go the big game of the week, Ohio State, Nebraska here? We're not going to preview that one?
Smokey, I'm going to it. You want me to send you pictures and send you videos of sad people and all that? Or
can you do? Yeah.
Flying? What do you want?
Send the picture of the video of the balloons flying, because they may not get in the air, because that means they scored. And number two, can you just send me pictures of old great memories of Nebraska football from 20 years ago?
Tommy Frazier, Jeff.
That's you got a choice at 11 o'clock. You can turn on TV and watch them, get blown up at Ohio State, or you can just go on YouTube and just watch the heydays. I think you should do that.
I'm going to go back and watch the 95 Nebraska team and be good with it. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, God. I almost brought Steve Sipple on the show. He's a columnist. He writes for the Lincoln Star Journal, whatever, about this. It's over, right? This is it. I
mean, I don't know. People have been saying that for feels like 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
Or even 6 years, but it's been 4.
I think Trev Alberts has a really, really tough decision to make, because it is a legend that he's firing as a player.
Gary Patterson is out at TCU, and he actually did something.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know if people really. I think people like Gary Patterson. I don't know if they love Gary Patterson. I don't think they like Scott Frost anymore.
He's got kind of a cult following among the Froggers. I mean, he does.
Well, I mean, they don't. A cult following. It's not big enough to get butts in seats.
No, that's something.
I'd say it's a very small cult, and yeah, I mean, at this point, there's a lot of coaches that seem to have that crowd that never leaves no matter what. You could burn down a building and be like, well, the match company created the match, like it would never, ever be that person's fault.
The walls were built with the wrong material.
But yeah, that's a game that's going to be tough. And, he's a player, but you also fully acknowledge when you hired him that there was an opportunity you'd have to fire him. So that's, that was the risk that you ran when you hired him to begin with. You knew that it could end this way. You never imagined it would, but you knew it could. And here we are. And, it's still not over yet, but it does feel like we're getting closer to the end. So
let me ask you this. If they do fire him, how quickly does somebody pick him up?
Scott Frost?
As an assistant? Probably
as a head coach. Does he get a job as a head coach somewhere else pretty quickly or not?
I mean, he'd have to go down a level for sure.
Yeah, he's not getting a comparable
Power 5
job.
Well, I know, but that is a lower Power 5 job.
Yeah. But look, if you were Texas State, would you hire Scott Frost?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But he's going to he's got a $16 or $20 million base. All right, that's Max Holst. They suck.
Well, see, that's why Texas State can hire him, because you can hire him for $750,000 for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
And then the buyout covers the rest.
Yeah. I was looking at the coach's hot seat thing, and I noticed they put Steve Sarkisian on there, which I think is ridiculous. That's just so stupid. That could be a fun site that actually, if they didn't put stuff like that, that would make it so much more authentic and genuine, because Steve Sarkisian is in absolutely no way, shape, or form in any threat to be fired by Texas within the next 14 months. I mean, absolutely no way, unless barring a scandal. There's no way he's getting fired anytime soon. So I think that's just kind of silly. But for Frost, it's obviously all legit. And I'll tell you, I don't want to see him go anywhere. I think Dave Aranda would make one hell of a coach in Nebraska. That's the kind of dude. That's the kind of dude. I think someone like him would be good. You don't need the name. You don't need the this or that. Just get a football coach in there that'll block out all the BS. Get down to business. Stop relishing the glory days that are now 25 years ago at this point, or no, more 20 years ago at this point, and get back to business, man.
That's why they maybe need.
What did I say to you earlier today when you asked me? And it seems like every day we go down. Craig Bowl is at Wyoming. Okay, It's not a hot name. It's not a big name, but he went to North Dakota State.
60s,
but he knows the skeletons inside. He knows how that used to work. And you would think Scott Frost. Here's the problem I have with Scott Frost. There is so many game day meltdown decisions from the coaching staff across the board, and he is a part of that. Going a 1 yard run when it was fourth down, they thought it was third down. It's stupid. It's stupid football. All right, when we come back,
the fake punt on fourth and oh wait, that wasn't him. That was Sarkisian last week.
Oh yeah,
that was
setting up a punt return.
That was Paul Assassin's boyfriend.
Okay, Michigan and Michigan State are both still in the. Michigan kind of got obviously slipped. Both of them had late game gifts to beat Nebraska. So I'm not taking either one of them seriously. That's both of them had to have late game throw up on yourself moments by Nebraska to beat them.
I'm sure Ohio State will beat them both soundly.
Yeah, you would think so. All right, when we come back, Mickey Spagnola.
Good news
Dallas
is we get to
Cowboys,
find out.
Yeah, DallasCowboys.com is next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. What?
Number 4.
Oh, well, I can do that one later. Pickup Outfitters. Okay, we got the list. It's handwritten, Paul. I can't read that. All right, Pickup Outfitters. That's Jay Arrett. You know what they do? They pick up and make your car, truck, and SUV better. How? They have accessories, bumpers and grill guards and much, much more. And they can install them on your truck, your pickup, and oh, by the way, SUV and minivans. And if you buy product from Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, if you buy the product from them and they install it, there will be a lifetime installation warranty, and they'll also help you with any kind of other assistance you need. And I have this story still from a listener who sent me this note, what was it, about a month or so ago. He sent me this note. This is from D. Carter. I called Pickup Outfitters for advice on what to do with the pickup, my bed, of a 1972 Chevy pickup truck. My truck is all original. Talking through with the fellow on the phone at Pickup Outfitters, called me back. He said, hey, I don't think you need a spray and liner. So he actually was turning down the possibility of maybe having something bought. But he turned it down, said he shouldn't do it. he's still going to come to Waco, D. Carter is, and have something done with his pickup truck and his 1972 beauty, that Chevrolet pickup truck. Again, he's down in Houston. He's going to come into Waco to have that job done, and Pickup Outfitters will do it perfectly well. That's what they do. Pickup Outfitters spray in and lay in bed liners and more. Covers for your pickup truck bed as well. 220 Lake Air Drive, createacommotion.com.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line. When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payment.
NCAA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe 567717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the two jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola covers the Cowboys after that dramatic win, yet another one. And they have 3 of those, against the Chargers, against the Patriots, and then, of course, in what they were able to do with Cooper Rush and company and the defense that was opportunistic against Minnesota. Mickey, they have won games that sometimes, you know what, when you're having a special season, you got to win them. There's a couple that could have got away. And what about that moment? We've seen the Cowboys do that before, whether Anthony Wright, for God's sakes, or somebody that comes in and fires away, Jason Garrett. Your thoughts about what Cooper Rush did for the Cowboys on Sunday night?
Yeah, since you mentioned a little bit of history, I basically wrote, David, that this one will go down in Cowboys lore, right there with Clint Longley and Jason Garrett and Steve Berline, the guys that came in off the bench and were able to win a game. And frankly, if you think about it, Tony Romo was a backup quarterback till he got his first start and went to Carolina and won a game. And Gary Hogeboom did the same thing. So we've seen this with Cowboys backup quarterbacks, and that was pretty dramatic, what Cooper Rush was able to do, especially the second half. Because my guess is after they only put up 3 points in the first half, for a team that was averaging 34 points a game, I'm sure everybody was starting to look at the waiver wire and go, okay, who's available? We got to get a better quarterback than this. And Cooper Rush turned it on in the second half, made some huge throws, none bigger than the winning touchdown pass to Amari Cooper.
Mickey, I thought this that night, and maybe it's just because they both have red hair, but to me, this was his Jason Garrett moment. You got a national TV game, and again, if you think back to that Jason Garrett game, it was not it wasn't like he just plugged in and kept a prolific offense going. He made the plays when he needed to make. He made a couple big throws to Alvin Harper, and that's how the Cowboys won the game. It wasn't, one of those all-timers where Jason Garrett set some kind of record. He just played well enough with a good team around him to win the game.
And if you remember, Paul, he did most of the damage in the second half, just the way Cooper Rush did. But you're right. He ended up, I think it was 3 touchdown passes and 300 yards passing, or maybe 2 something. And you know what? The thing I remember about that game is afterwards when and Jason was pretty humble, like Cooper Rush was after the game. And they asked Jason what was the key to turning it on in the second half. He goes, well, before I left for the game, Brill, and I can't remember if it was his wife then or she was just a girlfriend, but they ended up getting married. He said, yeah, Brill told me if I get in trouble, just throw it up high to Alvin. Yeah. And that's what he ended up doing. He threw up a couple passes, and Alvin, he was a 7-foot high jumper in college and went up and caught a couple touchdown passes for him.
So, Mickey, looks like Dak is going to be coming back this week. Looks like Michael Gallup potentially getting closer to a return?
Closer. And they were going to see how he went in practice this week. When they bring guys back off the IR like that, they can practice for three weeks before you have to make a decision. This is his second week. So some of it will be, is he ready? And some of it will be, do they have a roster spot available so they don't have to maybe cut somebody? Because you never know when somebody pulls a hamstring and they go on IR and it opens up a spot for somebody else on the 53-man roster. So I would imagine they'll take that till Saturday before they make the decision. And if it's not for this game, it definitely will be for Atlanta next week.
All right, so Law Collins, what they're doing with him, he's starting right tackle. He went out because of the suspension. Steele has played better than anyone could have ever expected. Now Tyron Smith has a flare-up. Where is he going to play this Saturday? Is he going to start left tackle? Is he going to start at right tackle? Is he going to start?
Well, let me put it this way to you. Today, when Mike McCarthy was talking about the different contingencies they have, no, he's going to start. Believe me, they don't have enough tackles if Tyron's down. But he was talking about, the difference between playing on the left side and the right side. And he was talking about the footwork. And he said, part of our decision is how did snaps go in training camp? So if I'm reading between the lines, Lale Collins snaps in training camp in the first game were at right tackle. Terrence Steele started at right tackle as a backup. And by the middle of training camp, he was playing backup on the left side. So he actually got snaps at left tackle. So if, what he was saying about snaps in training camp count, then to me, it looks like Lale Collins would be the right tackle and they'd move Steele out to left tackle. Now, in college, he played right tackle. All last year, it was right tackle, but he did get snaps with the second team when they were trying to figure out who was going to be the backup swing tackle. It was either going to be Steele or Nasecki. Well, when they moved him to left tackle with the backups, I'm going, okay, they want to see if he's the swing tackle, and I think he won that job, obviously. So it looks like that's the way they'll go. But again, they're keeping it close to the vest. Now, I don't know if Jerry will spill the beans on Friday or not, but he actually said early this week that, the competitive advantage is not telling your opponent what you're going to do. And I'm going, well, it's taken them all these years to figure that out.
Yeah, it's taken since 1989 for him to finally realize that.
Well, there are a couple of years. I think part of that is just a couple of years in the 90s. 1993, you can pretty much tell everybody what the Cowboys are going to do and be like, good luck, dudes.
Yeah.
But that's
right.
Not certainly the case anymore. Mickey, I think we got the first real Cowboys bummer of the season when Jabril Cox out for the season with an ACL. And Jabril Cox's play was one of the reasons they felt confident enough to let go of Jalen Smith in the middle of the year.
I wouldn't go that far. Jabril Cox was basically a really nice special teams player. He wasn't getting that many snaps on defense. And even after they let Jalen go, he got a couple snaps. He made a nice play. Was it the New England game or maybe the game before that, Philadelphia? But he had been a special teams player, and they took a hit there. So they may have to bring Francis Bernard off of IR, another linebacker. He was really starting to come on. But the reason Jalen Smith was let go was the same reason the Packers let him go. He just wasn't playing very well.
Yeah, and of course he was let go by two teams with two pretty good records. You'd think somebody out there, but I think his time seems to be numbered. I want to ask you this. Would you have to kill Amari Cooper to keep him off the field in a big moment?
Did you like that? He was massaging his hamstring with a little ball on the sideline. And then it's like, oh, no, I'm going in. And then when CD goes, okay, you want me to take this? He goes, no, this is mine on the winning touchdown grab. So, yeah, you got to love Mari. He's always dealing with something. But he always manages to get out in the game. And this week, he's been limited in practice both days. As a matter of fact, CeeDee Lamb sprained an ankle in practice yesterday, and he didn't practice today. Now, they seem somewhat optimistic that he'd be ready to go for Sunday, and maybe they're just trying to rest him up. But, yeah, Amari Cooper is the unwide receiver, right? He's got no ego. He doesn't complain about anything, and he'll play hurt. So yeah, he's a gem. And that whole wide, where you see what's going on in Cleveland with Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
This wide receiver core is just, they have an amazing relationship. And they have amazing kind of humble, quiet personalities. Now, they're kind of cool to talk to, but you don't hear anybody going, well, I don't know that I got enough targets, right? I need more. They really mesh well together. And even Cedric Wilson, who's come in and made some big-time plays in Michael Gallup's absence.
Yeah. Cedric Wilson's catch on fourth down against the Patriots, wasn't it? Like he had to go pretty high. He's a big, tall, angular receiver. You don't make that when you lose. Of course, there's a lot of things. And then to give Cooper Rush such a target, to throw that over the middle, and it was perfectly thrown. But Wilson, if he drops it, you don't know what that might do. He's just made really some key plays.
And Mickey, he's the kind of player the Cowboys haven't had a lot of in this stretch of not being elite, in which, it doesn't matter what you ask him to do, he's just going to be able to do it.
He's the fourth receiver, right? And he comes in and plays like that. And I was telling somebody today, I said, go back to 1995 and tell me who the three receivers were for the Cowboys. And I'll give you Michael Irvin. Well, they won a Super Bowl with Michael Irvin, Kevin Williams, and Kelvin Martin. And Kelvin Martin had maybe, 12 catches during the season. So basically it was the Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith show, right? And that was the year Emmett scored 25 touchdowns and rushed for 1,700 yards. But here's the funny thing, and I know I'm on a tangent now, but stay with me. Right now, after 7 games, the Cowboys have 18 receiving touchdowns. In 95, when they won the Super Bowl during the regular season, the wide receivers totaled 18 touchdowns. Think about that.
Wow.
It's a different game.
Now, I know the game's changed, right?
Yeah.
But still, it was the Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith show.
That was that Cowboys team, but they had Daryl Johnston, who got a ton of catches, and Novacek, too, Those guys got
and Bjornsson, and Bjornsson, and Emmett.
Yep.
And so when you got to the next wide receiver with catches, it was Kevin Williams, and I think he was fifth in line.
Yeah, Irvin had 111 catches. Novacek, had 62, and so did Emmett. Emmett had 62 catches plus 1,773 yards rushing.
Yeah,
insane.
I can tell you Kevin Williams returned a punt in the snow one time. I can tell you more punt returns like Kevin
Leon
Williams.
Lett tried to return a punt in the snow one time too.
That was Thanksgiving. That was the Ice Bowl. That was Thanksgiving Day.
I can tell you more about Kevin Williams' punt returns than I can about any catch he ever had in a game.
Yeah.
All right. This wide receiver core is rather amazing, and you know what? Noah Brown has stepped up too as a fifth wide receiver. To come in and a couple times make some significant catches when called upon. So it's a pretty good offense right now. And as good as Cooper Rush was, the wide receivers and the running back, by the way, who catches a little dump pass over the middle when it looked like they're going to kick a field goal to tie the game, and bulls his way 11 yards for first down at the 5-yard line.
Yeah, that seemed like the first couple of 2 or 3 years of Zeke when he was just absolutely unstoppable. Mickey, thank you very much. And he was on that particular play. Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. 5 o'clock hour, we're going to get back into the chat room a little bit, and also your text messages, 254-339-1122. And we're going to re-rack the Dave Aranda interview from on Monday, one-on-one on many things, Baylor, but also college football and coaching searches, and even the Berenstain Bears books. Sikkim 365 Radio. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Ashley, Carol, and Cheyenne. They run the business, and that business has a 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded up with some of the great brands of cigars, including right now some of the ones that Ashley wrote down for me. The Alec Bradley Gatekeeper No. 7, the Punch Knuckle Buster, and Leather Rose Petite Corona. On top of that, in fact, when I was at the Stones concert with my buddy Eric and also his friend Don, we were able to light cigars. We were out kind of walking into the entrance. It was a Macanudo and an Ashton, and it was so smooth, Churchill length, so good, and you get those inside at Don's Humidor as well. Vita Dreamy, the THC-free gummies that allow you to perhaps fall asleep a lot easier and even quicker to save you some of that tossing and turning when you don't seem to be able to fall asleep with so much on your mind. And Delta THC products available. Fresh ground coffee beans right there in front of you. They have the humidors, and by the way, not too early. It may be a little bit early, but if you're looking for a Christmas gift down the road, humidors, bag of cigars, and more. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell them I sent you. And this is, of course, in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Time for a little Off the Radar. And for those who may be just joining us for the first time, it's a little segment where stick to mostly, or try to not do too much Cowboys, because we talk a lot of Cowboys, and not too much, Baylor, Big 12, because we do a lot of that. But we will touch on some of those topics at times, and really this is to look around at stories that kind of get lost in the shuffle in terms of our normal discussion. So let's start about a story that I know we mentioned very briefly maybe a couple of days ago, but Henry Ruggs, a former Alabama star wide receiver and now former Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, his football careers, basically kaput at this point, but that's not the biggest tragedy in all of what's gone on this week by any means. Most people have probably seen at least some of the loose details at this point, but earlier this week, now former Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs got into a car accident in Las Vegas, killed a young woman in her car, and turns out her dog as well was also in the car. And we knew about that, but we didn't really have a whole lot of details, right? And now the details have flooded in over the last 24, 48 hours, and they are truly horrific. They really are. You can say all you want to about young people and mistakes, but it's really hard to even come close to trying to excuse Henry Ruggs and just kind of chalk it up as the mistake that a lot of young people make. And that's because we've all probably drove when we shouldn't have, right, after maybe a couple beers out with friends or whatever. Hopefully most people try to avoid that. But as it turns out in this deadly car wreck, Henry Ruggs was not only driving double over the alcohol limit, but he was also driving 156 miles per hour before slamming into the rear of the car of the young woman, a 23-year-old who passed away along with her dog. And not to get too graphic here, but there was a video on TMZ Sports.
Was there really?
Well, let me finish. There was a video on TMZ Sports from after the car wreck that was from across the street and doesn't show anything as far as like up close or anything like that. But what it does show is enough of a view that you see what appears to be Henry Ruggs down on the ground. And I couldn't really tell. It looked like somebody was trying to help get, everything situated out of the car that he was driving in. But what was very clear was the inferno blazing in the car that he hit. Absolutely, 511, or was it 5 alarm fire? This car completely up in flames that we come to find out had a young woman and her dog in it. So Ruggs was booked into jail, of course. He's already bonded out. His bail's been, taken care of. A lot of people were arguing over how much, because he's a pro athlete. He's got a lot of money, but Henry Ruggs is in trouble. That's the bottom line. And hearing the details of it, you hear about a car wreck, and that can happen, but 156 effing miles per hour, double the legal limit. F you, dude. F you. Seriously, there is zero. I don't care if he was quadruple the legal limit, driving 156 effing miles per hour, and you look at the road that they were on. Dude, you drive like 60 on that road and you could find yourself in some trouble, much less 156. So we've seen, celebrities get in trouble and then not really much else happens. I think, though, Henry Ruggs is probably going to have the book thrown at him as much as possible, given the details.
Well, and Nevada's penalties are 2 to 20 years. So best case scenario for him is 2 years. And I don't think that's going to happen.
One of the investigators told the judge the airbag computer records showed the Corvette he was driving decelerated from 156 miles per hour to just 127 as it slammed into the back of this woman's Toyota around 3:40 a.m., which ruptured the vehicle's fuel tank and set the entire car on fire. And that is the fire that you can see with no, graphic details, but you just see a car completely engulfed in flames. Then you see Ruggs sitting over on the sidewalk. And I couldn't tell really what all was happening in terms of who was trying to help out. But the RAV4 that this young woman was in was hurled 570 feet down Rainbow Boulevard. The 23-year-old woman's name was Tina Tintor, and her dog's name was Maxie. Good Samaritan said they tried to come and help, but it got too hot, too much smoke, too much flame. And they heard screams, and they didn't get too much into that, but just an awful, awful story.
From Mike Bridges on the chat room, vehicular manslaughter at the very least, and I don't want to get into the legal stuff because I don't know enough about it, but yeah, that's awful. And he's done, right? He's done.
Oh, of
course, Leonard Little.
Yeah, this is not the same thing.
No, I know, but he was able to play. This one here is just complete negligence. stupidity across the board, and the fact that he was drunk twice as the legal limit, even if he was not speeding. Right there is going to get him in trouble.
That alone, much less 156 miles per hour. So Saban talked about it, and he said, that they support Henry as much as they can, that he made a mistake that's obviously going to change his entire life, but they're going to, show him love. And I know that Derek Carr said the same thing and got a lot of backlash for saying that he was going to show him love. And
first round pick, right?
Yeah.
Top 10 pick?
Big time pick.
Yeah, and so they've had John Gruden's story and now this one.
Yeah.
In what was going to be a year, and they're still kind of a part of it, but this is brutal.
Yeah, and apparently afterwards, the medical staff, when they were taking care of him, they said that his speech was slurred. He was uncooperative. He and his girlfriend were both taken to the hospital. He refused a blood alcohol test. The judge signed a warrant to get them to pull his blood, and that's how they found out it was double the legal limit. Apparently, he was yelling at hospital staff. He was yanking or trying to remove medical equipment, telling them, get me the blank out of here. He was yelling from his bed, refused to listen to staff, and yelled they weren't doing anything for him. So
he was being a dick.
Yeah. Basically. So there's the latest on Henry Ruggs, and he's probably going away for quite a while. So elsewhere, we do have some games in college football tonight. We've got Virginia. That's Thursday night. Georgia State will be taking on Louisiana Lafayette tonight at 6:30. So get a little look at Billy Napier for those teams who might be of interest in the services of Billy Napier.
Hey, by the way, back to that story about Ruggs, if you don't mind. This is from Stephen Rose. Dante Stallworth in 2009 beat the same case with a 24-day sentence and settlement of $13 million to the family of the construction worker he killed. Now, I don't know about the details.
The details are totally different.
He was also in Florida, not Nevada.
Okay.
So it's a different state.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen. All right.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. A lot of people have been trying to draw the comparisons to try and figure out. A big difference is that Stallworth, there was a difference, and the fault might have actually been somewhat on the person, as far as
the victim,
what was trying to catch a bus home, and it was like walking in the road, and he apparently had flashed his lights, and so like he had a valid reason of like he wasn't just going 156 miles per hour and slamming into people, and I believe he also stuck around and tried to help out. So, but yeah, thank you for the comparison there. Elsewhere, looking around at some stories, I mentioned the game we got tonight, ESPN Classic. You probably would be surprised by the story, but not for the reason that you would think. But ESPN Classic will apparently be shutting down at the end of 2021. Somewhere, a bunch of people go, I thought it was already shut down. I mean, when's the last time you tuned into ESPN Classic? But apparently it will be shutting down at the end of 2021 on January 1st. The channel first formed in 1995. Known then as Classic Sports Network. It was bought by ESPN just 2 years later and has been around ever since. But
I don't remember the last time I actually went to watch something on that.
And they can take all the content that they own and fold it right into ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and run
and put it there. And that way they can take a channel that they own. They have a spot, and they can just make it ESPN whatever it is and put more live sports on it.
Yeah, I mean, they had done live stuff in the past, but I can't recall anything they've done as of late. And when you look at your cable packages now, I mean, how many ESPN channels do you get? Just basically, you get like 5 of them, but it's not ESPN Classic.
Yeah,
you get like ESPNU, you get ESPN News, but you don't get ESPN Classic anymore. So yeah, most people probably thought it was already gone.
Well, and here's the deal with the Longhorn Network going away in several years, whenever that happens. So that'll be, and they own these stations and these frequencies. It's not like they just give them up. They're going to put something on them. I think because ESPN's made such a huge push into live sports, it's just going to mean more live content that they can.
What did you say? What was the live content?
Yeah,
have we not? I know people have made fun of when I've mentioned that when it comes to realignment and conferences and teams. People really think I'm an idiot for bringing that up, but that is absolutely an important thing.
Well, look,
what do they think they're trying to get it for? For the great fans of Houston, Texas? I mean,
by the way, someone just mentioned ESPN Classic should be the Longhorn Network.
Well, I mean, they're both good. Like ESPN Classic will be gone, and the Longhorn Network will be gone, and it will be some sort of ESPN program or station that the brunt of it will be live sports because they've paid out so much money for everything.
Yeah.
They've got to get as much as they can on the air.
Yeah. Right. Also elsewhere, Spencer Rattler's personal quarterbacks coach has spoken. Mike Giovando.
There's a problem, maybe.
Spoke.
Well,
well,
maybe not.
There's a lot of guys that coaches.
Yeah.
But Mike Giovando, not sure if the type of guy he is or not, but he is Spencer Rattler's personal quarterback coach and has been.
I thought Lincoln Riley was his personal quarterback coach, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, he's Caleb Williams now and has been for about 3 weeks. But he's been Rattler's quarterback's coach since 6th grade, so that's about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. And he was asked about Spencer Rattler's future, and he said, Spencer's doing everything he's supposed to do in Oklahoma. And this was a response by text. He went on to say, just wait the season out, and if his number is called, he'll be ready. But, I mean, of course he's not going to be there after this year. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Whether or not we declare for the draft and find another school remains to be seen. We just want to keep getting feedback from where he may fall in the draft, and his number one goal is to be a first-round pick one day, so he will do what's best in the end so he can achieve that goal. But he's doing okay. He really is. He's handled this very well.
Of course, speaking for Spencer Rattler, the Rattler family, and we know the ending here, but he would be silly to leave now because you never know when something might happen, and he might end up being a guy that leads him to something big. We'll see.
Yeah, those same fans that were booing him. But I think it's, we already knew that. But I mean, just to hear his own quarterback's coach saying, he's definitely not going to be there. It's going to be the NFL or somewhere else. And just one other thing, the playoff, meetings were going on. They didn't solve anything. They kicked the can down the road some more.
They kicked Cincinnati down the road, too.
Yeah. Bill Hancock said, I'm confident if the pandemic hadn't happened, this would have been a finish last summer, 2020. Said it was wishful thinking by many outside their little room that an expanded playoff would happen so quickly. There wasn't optimism among our leaders that there was among some reporters. Where we are today doesn't surprise me because it would be such an important change for college football. And Hancock also said we need to get this done by January. In fairness to championship game hosts and bowls, the deadline to expand in time for 24 and 25 is right around the corner.
Well, good that it didn't happen last year because a lot's happened since then, and including the late July stuff with Texas OU, the SEC, and now it seems like 15 or 20 schools or more that have moved around their furniture.
I would think that there'd be more. I mean, there's presidents that need to have their, for lack of a better term, balls tickled on this.
Well, couldn't you have said back scratched?
I mean, no, I don't think it's. I think.
Well, there's some presidents.
Collective. Imaginary, but that's
you are so male chauvinist.
But no, I'm not. I'm just saying that. I mean, that's what has to happen here. And once that happens, when everybody's satisfied with that, then it'll happen. I mean, it's going to happen because you can't go back to 4. You just can't do it. You cannot look.
Are the in-laws watching you right now?
Oh, they know who I am. I mean,
did you just hear what you just confirmed?
What?
The in-laws watching you?
Yeah.
Got it. Well, for
Mama
what it's
Catalina will be happy.
I know we got to go. That's all. I'm going to leave it there with that. But the committee will once again meet on December the 1st, so in a little less than a month, and we'll see if they can get this done.
Maybe there'll be some scratching done. I don't know. We'll see.
But one thing they have not decided on even is what that format even is going to be. We still don't know.
I don't think they can 12? Right now.
No, it doesn't appear that they can. So they've got a lot of work to do in a short amount of time, and
they got to find out who the group of 5 includes. Yeah. All right, Craig, great stuff. Off the Radar every Tuesday and Thursday, brought to you by Pickup Outfitters at 4:45. When we come back, we'll get to the chat room. Some of you, a lot of you involved. Thank you very much. The text line, 254-339-1122. Dave Aranda from earlier this week, one-on-one. Many things, coaching, college football, and TCU, Gary Patterson, and more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac. Man, we've been talking about the lack of vehicles, the lack of inventory that's been going around all across the country, all across the world. These supply chain challenges made a lot of cars and trucks hard to find for those in the market. Well, the good news is that GM has announced that, yes, production has slowed, but cars and trucks are coming. And so now is the time to contact Richard Carr to get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner when you get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list, and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. You need a pickup, we'll get the best. Get a Sierra from Richard Carr. An ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you are in the market for a roomy SUV, well, consider the Buick and the Buick lineup of SUVs, which offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Maybe you want some sophistication and power combined. Well, how about a new Cadillac XT6 or Cadillac Escalade? These options and more. Cars and trucks are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and let them get you on their inbound vehicle list so you can get your vehicle before anyone else. But if you want to save and drive today, they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. They all go through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, so you can come by for a test drive today because 100% credit approval is always the goal. And for those in the greater Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. Give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001.
Tell Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And that is picked off. How dangerous. What's on the return? Cuts to the outside. And he's taken down with 2 seconds remaining.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we're going to read from the chat room and respond to some of them. Also, the text line. I'm about to sneeze. Paul?
Let's see. Here it goes. Here it goes.
Okay. Where's the bright light?
That's not a sneeze.
No,
that's not even a sneeze.
But I crack my back every time, and one of these days my heart's going to stop. But that's fine. I feel better. Okay. All right.
Do you know what a real sneeze even feels like? Do you know how good that feels?
Yeah, because Paul used to do them, and we'd fight over them. Because Paul would, right? Paul, you'd put your elbow up.
I think you got to let it out.
I do if I'm by myself, but when I'm around people, I feel like, and I'm going to do it again here in a minute. All right. So, Hudson Card, Eric, Thunder Wolfo. Hudson Card will enter the transfer portal as good as he is. Huh.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think he and Casey Thompson are going to be in the same kind of thing next year. And there's a reason that Steve Sarkisian, a quarterback guru, a guy who's coached quarterbacks well everywhere he's been, could not make up his mind at the beginning of the year. And I think it's because both guys are about at the same level. I think Casey Thompson gives them more right now, but I think they think Hudson Card maybe more in the future, but I think it's going to be that same way again.
I thought he looked pretty good against University of Louisiana, and then they went to Arkansas and got smoked, and Card did nothing, but neither did anyone else, right? And then Thompson came in and let him do a pretty good run.
I mean, Steve Sarkisian, I trust him, evaluating quarterbacks and his team better than anybody else, but I am curious as to why Hudson Card got all of 6 quarters to prove whether or not he's a starting quarterback, and that was just it. And we never see him again, basically. And Casey Thompson's been good to fine to whatever, and he's just been the guy ever since. So, I would just love to know from Sarkisian, what was it in those 6 quarters, those 6 whole quarters that you saw that you were like, not only is he not the guy, but Casey's definitely the guy, and Hudson's not even going to barely see the field anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's some times you think
that was a quick pull.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when you got a quarterback race and you pull the guy, then the other guy gets some time, and then you see the other guy again. They pulled him after 6 quarters, and we've basically not seen him since.
Why
then.
would they not have at least brought in Card when Thompson, who has apparently hurt a finger or part of his hand, when they... why not? I mean, he's a hell of a quarterback from a heck of a program in high school. All right.
So, he may be right about the transfer portal. If he doesn't get a chance here pretty soon, I would have to wonder if I was him okay, what? So I just got 6 quarters and that's it? That's all I got to show you anything?
From Biscuits and Gravy, Paul Catalina, and then the face with the plant. I apologize, by the way, to Biscuits and Gravy and every female in the administrative position in the world for Paul Catalina's comments.
Here's what I think. I think most of the women presidents of the universities are not the ones standing in the way of this, because they're not the ones whose egos need to be stroked.
That's fair.
You are such a suck up.
I'm not. No.
That's a hell of a bounce back.
No. I'm not sucking up. I'm telling you that the people standing in the way of this thing are not 2 things. They're not young and they're not women.
They're not poor.
Yeah. They are old, rich, white dudes for the most part.
Stale and in the way.
They're just I liked it better this way. Please make me happy. And that's all that it is.
Scratch my balls. Green Wolf Green. After realignment, I haven't done the counting on this, but the Sun Belt has 14 teams. The MAC has 14. The AAC 11. Mountain West 11. Conference USA 9. And the independents left are Notre Dame and Army. That's 61 teams. And you still wonder how much movement's going to be a part of those, because we know the American Conference could lose at least 2 or 3 more teams here in the next, who knows, maybe month or 6.
Yeah. All right. But by the way, I realize that last response makes me sound super I'm going to go march somewhere. I'm not. I'm just telling you that those are the crabby old dudes who are doing this.
I agree. I'm not going to disagree with a lot of the things I think about coaching changes, certain leagues, is that it's the retreads of that. All right. From Mike Bridges, the worst NFL team would beat the brakes off the best college football team.
Absolutely agree. 100%.
Absolutely think you're right.
I think the person you see on Twitter who's talking about Alabama would beat the Jaguars.
Oh my God.
Immediately that person has no idea what they're talking about. No.
You're talking about a 33-year-old man playing offensive line who's an 8-year Grizzly veteran.
The other thing is, you got to take your best 53 against their best 53. Okay, so when you get down to 53 on a college roster, how old is your 51st person?
18,
maybe 16, 17.
No, not 16.
I mean, sometimes they are. They get there early, but 17, 18, 19 years
Quinn
old.
Ewers is 12, and he's at Ohio State.
Oh, and he would get Ragdolled. Any NFL team, I don't care who they are, take the worst one, play the national champion. I'm taking the NFL team 100 times out of 100, and I'm not even blinking or sweating it.
All right, there we go. Let's see here. There's a little debate, which is silly, that they should rest Dak another week against the Broncos or 2 and let Cooper Rush. You know what? You caught lightning. Don't mess with it. Now that you also now have confidence. In fact, if you have to use him yet again. Now, one of the things in the prodigal heel has put this up. Stephen Rose, who's a UT fan, wanted to know about some of the best places to eat across the campus from Baylor, and we were giving him a few. But I see this sometimes. The first thing I see sometimes, and this is all due respect to a couple of what you'd call
the same places that are mentioned every
iconic
time.
places people mention every time. George's and VTEX.
Yep.
There are, and those are both places to go, and there's atmosphere and all that. But Waco has grown up so much that there are others, and I see that, and I understand the marketing and all that, but there are so many options that are other than those two. And I mean, that gives you an opportunity to enjoy the cuisine of Waco, Texas.
Well, look, we've got 2 or 3 other really good barbecue places right now, where it's Guess or Hellberg, depending on if
they're rated higher.
They're rated high. Guess and Hellberg are both on the top 50 in Texas list. So Hellberg's a little more traditional, and it's got it's in a warehouse. It's a big old kind of a sawdust on the floor.
Is that one on Highway 6?
Yeah. It's excellent.
It's
wonderful.
You gotta
and so is Guess, and so then we've got a lot of other ones. If you want barbecue,
Kid that's right around the corner from us. So like that, that's 3 places. I mean, and like you said, all due respect to those 2 institutions that are mentioned every single time you talk to somebody recommending a place in Waco, but there are just 3 barbecue places we mentioned alone that you could go to, and several other. I mean, there's a lot more around than there used to be. It's not a two place, and there's one bar that people always mention.
Buzzard Billy's is a neat place right across from McLean Stadium, but there's also I recommend Fridays. Right there on Highway 77 North, if you want some Cajun food. It's a kind of a semi-hole in the wall. You'll love it if you go there. All right, from Terrence, let's face it. The Alliance will ultimately decide the future of the college football playoff. ESPN and SEC had a good run, but their time is almost over. The Alliance does not include the SEC.
That's what he's saying. He said ESPN and the SEC had their run, but it's over. Is that not what he said?
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about. Is that they're not in the driver's seat? I don't know if
you agree with that.
Well, I'm about to answer. I don't know if I would go that far, but I do think that a lot of what the future holds does lie as much in the hands of the Alliance as it does the people who are typically making the decisions that we hear about, which is ESPN and the SEC. I absolutely think the SEC's plan got foiled, and they were 100% going to be in favor of playoff expansion, and then they were going to sneak in, oh, yeah, by the way, we've added Texas and Oklahoma, and they got that party spoiled. And now all of a sudden there's a big to-do with the playoff and how that should work. And isn't that weird how that happened? Because, man, before the Texas-Oklahoma news, guys, I'm pretty sure that playoff was right on track, right? That whole expanded playoff. And all of a sudden there was a big old, foreign object thrown in the middle of the road. What could that have been? Oh, that was the surprise OU Texas move that wasn't supposed to be released just yet. So I think that they got their hand caught in the cookie jar a little bit. A masterful plan, but somebody from A&M ruined that plan. And so I do think that that's not going to tip the scales away entirely from the SEC, but it does, put a little more power elsewhere for sure.
Mike Rayner, guys, thanks for supporting our coach, Mike Boynton. Man, we love the guy and wish him the very best.
He did nothing wrong, and those were tears of a man who was being passionate about his program. Clearly loves his program. I didn't think there was one thing fake about that, and I feel sorry for the people who think that was fake. I just think you're
one person.
That's just. You're a little cold-blooded, but, I think it's ridiculous. The decision was ridiculous.
From JG on Terrence Baca, by the way, let's be honest, Paul, a handful of white males sitting in a boardroom, actually. We're talking about conference presidents and presidents, but most of the time. Those at the type. Let's see here. Talking about a lot about the Cowboys. And from Biscuits and Gravy, I agree there are other locations, but he's just driving up for a couple of hours, so I thought I would throw out the places most other Baylor football people will know. Milo's, Moroso's Pizza, among others. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Those are pizza places.
Yeah.
There's one that's a food truck, right? 900 degrees or something like that.
I think they have a brick and mortar now as well. And if you want burgers, there's been a lot of chat about burgers. I'll just tell you, we have amazing burgers in Waco. As a matter of fact, I think it's one thing that we don't brag about enough, because we have Double R, we've got Cubs Drive-In, we've got Dave's Burger Barn, we've got Health Camp, Cups. Did I say Cups already?
Yeah, no, you didn't. That's Piles used to love going there. Yep.
Captain Billy's, Whiz Bangs, and then Tom's Burgers, which is kind of a little hole in the wall as well. So
and legit, and I'm a burger person too, so I will say like legit, like a really good burger. I especially love Double R, but yeah, I mean, I know why people mention the same two places pretty much over and over, but it's about like we're way past due to start opening people's minds to like there's way more now than there was like 5 years ago.
Paul, I'm going to say this because the Prodigal Heel's been very involved today, and appreciate that. Was there once a place called Fat?
There still is.
Ho's Burger?
She started with a brick and mortar, and it didn't work out. She wasn't ready for that. But I did a comedy show, and she had a food truck outside the comedy show. I did a Rogue Media Company, and it's fantastic. Okay. So if you find that food truck, look her up. She's really good too. Yeah.
From Prodigal Heel, Super Chats won't let you type
ivermectin.
Vermectin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the.
But when when there's a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
Okay, Prodigal Heel. We appreciate the feedback today. Also, let's see here. From Cageman, I hope that the basketball decision for Oklahoma State marks the beginning of the end for the NCAA.
Man, it's. And now they're doing their whole rehaul or overhaul, right? And then what they're supposed to be doing is figuring out the new way that they're going to now be on the cutting edge of governance. It's them trying to save their backsides.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Livingstone's on that group now.
Yeah, and that's great and everything. But man, it's such a too little, too late thing. I mean, it's so far beyond when they should have already been doing this, and so it just makes it come across as, quite frankly, just very disingenuous and a move they're forced into making rather than what they should have been doing proactively many years ago.
All right. Biscuits and Gravy. Oh, and Revival East for burgers too.
Right down the street from us. Yeah, really good. They're right down the street on Elm. Yeah. Andrea Cameron, Fat Ho's food truck caught fire this summer. I think they came back from that, but yeah, I mean, I think I saw them after that, but she's really good. So once she gets back on her feet, people should go.
The Cattle Dog too. Street tacos rule. There's so many of those food trucks are amazing.
Yeah, Waco's got a little food truck scene. They kind of disappeared for a little while with all COVID and all that, but I mean, there's a lot of those that have flipped into regular brick and mortar places at this point, like Honky Tonk Kid.
Billy Bob's Burgers downtown just got that on the text line.
Yeah.
From Chris, does Waco have a party street like Austin has 6th Street? Well, they don't have anything like 6th Street, but they have what they've done is they've started, and you could see it happening, where Austin Avenue is creating some energy with places, with buildings being redone, or condos, and
nicer
some
bars
restaurants
and
sports bars and little places, cafe, cappuccino.
There's stuff that's all kind of close, so it's not necessarily like 6th Street where you could really go, but like there are, Stay Classy's new place.
There's put it this way, there's places that are kind of in a similar, but there's like no full blown walking the streets and partying and going in and out. No, there's none of that.
But I'll tell you what, it's from 5 to 8 to 10 years ago for sure. They've created some energy. Okay, that's the chat room. Paul?
All right, let's see. From the 419, guys, I'm a follower from the state of Ohio, stumbled onto your show once the media announced the University of Cincinnati was offered and accepted in the invite into the Big 12. His brother went there. I'm going to shorten this a little bit. He's a born and raised Ohio State Buckeye fan and a University of Toledo grad, but he's proud that the state of Ohio will be represented in 2 Power 5 conferences. He does have a few conferences and ideas for Big 12 expansion Chapter 2. He said, he mentioned what we reported about the next 4 teams and how that's who most likely to be. I understand that the thought that invitations to SMU and Boise State, but will recently stronger and more successful programs of the past 10 to 20 years. However, I don't quite understand the possible addition of South Florida to the Big 12 conference.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is. But, we saw when we had if you go back and we had Tony Altimore on the show, he showed that, like, he had that graph of everything, kind of explained it.
Yeah, and I think we need to bring that back because I saw a conversation the other day. Our words get twisted. Like I saw some Iowa State broadcaster, I'll leave his name out of it, but take a little bit of a pot shot about some, like the rumors that were going around. But it led me to finding people looking for the video. A couple people mentioned in the video. So I don't know is it pretty easy to find still?
I think so. I mean, we've got so many videos on our page,
who?
but on Tony Altimore.
Oh yeah.
But it does show in his research, and what the Big 12 knows as well is it's not necessarily about today for South Florida. It's about what South Florida could be in the market they are in. The Big 12 is not necessarily, because if you look at what these are today, SMU, Houston, Boise State, all the different ones across, only a couple of them have really good today resumes. A couple others have good future resumes, like potential. So it's not, and that's what is good about what the Big 12 is doing, is they're not just going, well, who can help us immediately when we expand.
Okay.
It's not that. It's who's going to help us in 10, 15 years.
For a conference that sat on their hands for so long and allowed certain people to dictate most everything that could be good or thought it was good for them only in the conference. They have been proactive. Yes, 10 years too late, maybe 20 years too late, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months too late, but they have become much more proactive, and they're not done. I'm telling you, even though there's a lot of chatter, argument, and even angst at times when I bring up Chapter 2, that is going to be done, and it's just a matter of just kind of crossing some T's, dotting some I's, some paperwork that they need from the right people to be filled out and said, hey, we want to do this. And that's it's kind of been in a buffer zone, so to speak, right now. But I do know this. The Big 12 would like to be able to have something by the end of the month to look forward to a Chapter 2 type thing, and that time is ticking as of right now. And then somebody just put up that video of all the images on the chat room.
By the way,
thanks, Armstrong.
The official statistics professor of Sikkim 365 Radio, Jane Harville, chimed in, and she says Alpha Omega is a great Greek restaurant, which is downtown on Franklin. Really, really good.
Here's a discussion, and then we go to Dave Aranda in a minute. If Baylor, and again, I don't like so and so winning out, because everyone's going to have a wart or something. But if Baylor was, and I don't even know, Saturday scares me a little bit.
I see, man. I'm the opposite. I don't know. I get it that they're a rival. I get it that they fired their coach. I get it. There's going to be emotions, and I get that it's in Fort Worth. Although
oh my God, you just checked off 3 or 4 boxes, though.
Okay, let's talk about actual football. Like that
doesn't always come into play, though. Sometimes weird things happen, is what I'm saying.
But that'd be a lot of weird things.
That's what I'm. Okay,
it would be a horrible loss.
I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I agree. Weird things happen. And I agree that it might be a tumultuous environment. There might be 2 people in that crowd tomorrow from TCU for all we know. Saturday, excuse me. We don't know if the fans are going to rally. I'm sure the players will, and that's fine. But player for player, Baylor is a better team. They've looked better in pretty much every game this year. They're a better defense. They're a better offense. They're a better special teams. They're better coach. Like, they would have to really blank the bed to lose this game. And I know it's possible, but this team seems very focused. And if they just stay focused and they play their game, there's nothing TCU is going to do that's going to make me worried about it.
Here's why I say this, is that for some reason, some of Baylor's worst performances in the last 6 to 8 years has been against TCU.
I agree.
Especially in Fort Worth.
In Fort Worth. And then it was that disastrous game in 2016. No. Also, but if in fact Baylor was to run the table, because that means they would beat Oklahoma, they got to beat TCU, and then somebody in the Big 12 title game. Do they have enough to be in the conversation? Remember, what hurt them before was their non-conference. They beat Brigham Young, though.
Yeah,
they'll be out of the top 25 at that point. And
so you're talking about beating what would be possibly in the next 2 weeks a top 10 team in Oklahoma, a top possibly 10 or 12 team in Oklahoma State,
which was your only
and then
loss.
doing it again against somebody if they play one of those 2 teams again, you're going to have 3 top 10 or 12 wins before the end of the year.
We've already played Oklahoma State.
So I'm saying Oklahoma, and then either Oklahoma and Oklahoma State is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To close out the year, you don't think that'd be enough?
I mean, yeah, especially depending on what everybody else in the world did. But yeah, I think it would be enough.
Why'd you go quiet?
No, it's Yeah, I think that would probably be enough.
Paul, you don't think it's enough?
I do. I think that, it depends again, but it has to depend on what everybody else does.
Why did you go quiet? Seriously, did I say something that was wrong? I just said means you're going to beat Oklahoma and then maybe them twice at Oklahoma State, that's possibly 2 or 3 top 10, 12 teams that you beat.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just sitting here letting y'all talk. And I was simply, when you jumped in, I was correcting what you had said because I thought you had said it differently. That was it. We can move on from that. I don't know if it would be enough or not. I think a lot of it would actually depend on what happens around them. That should be a great resume. If they played Oklahoma State again, that would be their only loss erased. So I'd like to say yes, but I have no idea because I don't know what else everybody else is going to do.
Yeah, everyone else has control of some of that as well. But the problem is you think that could happen, probably won't, and then you surely don't ever trust what the College Football Playoff Committee is going to do. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
If you are looking for a new home or trying to sell the one you're in, you need to call my good friend Lance Donaldson, the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713. Lance describes himself as a local realtor with a unique perspective, which, look, you're going to need in this crazy seller's market. You're going to need somebody to back you up. You're going to need somebody to help you do that. You don't want to do it for sale by owner. I know it sounds like a good idea and you can save a lot of money, but you're also going to lose a lot of money in how long your house could stay on the market because you're not getting out and showing it to people. That's why you pay a realtor. That's why it's worth it. Believe me, it will more than make up the difference that you think you're doing in your head. 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just do what most people do. Go to Google and put Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, and it'll just pop up for you. Or call them 254-214-3713.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, with me on Sikkim 365 Radio. What are the challenges the week before when you have to face an interim head coach?
I think it is focus of your team. I think it's number one, and then I think number two, it would be what unknowns are you seeing? Do things kind of get simplified and reduced, or do things get do things explode and go out? And so I think there's still work to do on that phase of it. I would think that things come in and get simplified. But I think the most important is the piece that we can control, and that's just our motivation, our focus. And it's really no different than what it's been throughout our entire process. And it's keeping it on, making our standard daily, a real strong expectation.
You know Jerry Kill. You coached against him when you were at Wisconsin, and you know of him as well. Does that help a little bit or not?
Yeah, it does. I think he is simple. I think he is basic and fundamental. I think he's a ball coach. And so I think, my anticipation with that would be that they're going to try to do simple better. But, I think for us, that is going to be kind of our through our coordinator's vein of, along with my help, but really kind of making it so where we can focus with our players as much on the outside in terms of their technique and their schemes as with the inside, and that's their motivation and their focus, and then kind of their internal drive.
Your thoughts about what you said about Gary Patterson in the media session? Defense, respect from you because of what he's done, and kind of like almost how much you respect what he is as a defensive mind.
Yeah, I think, just coming up with him. So when I was kind of coming up, Gary Patterson, that's when he first started to be the guy. And I think, the way that he looked at defense, or he started to look at defense then, and it became more fashionable after him. He was really one of the first, was to look at defense as you would be on offense, as calling a defense, call out the front, call out the linebackers, call out the secondary, and each in the call give them a job description where they're not necessarily tied to each other. Right, by the call, it's all individually pieced, like a sentence, where they can go out and really create havoc and be way multiple. And I think at that time, that was something, you would, like, if we were to go on Google right now, we could type up, West Coast offensive play names, right, and pull up some long play names where they describe what everybody's doing on everything. And Gary was the first on defense that was really doing that in college at a real high level. And so I think that thing just took off. And then just from there, just his techniques of playing 3 backs, and playing spread sets, and playing no huddle, and just all of it, just way forward thinker.
I'm one of those that remembers things that I'm not trying, but I saw one day you had your book open, your calendar. You have the tiniest handwriting, but it's the neatest from top to bottom of every day. How methodical are you with that?
Pretty strong. I think, that's probably the only part of my life that I can control, is that book right there. And so I take some pride in that. But I think like a lot of that comes from the early morning, which is one of my favorite times, because you go through kind of I think every day, every morning, you've got yourself a new team. And so it gives me the ability to kind of, where people's hearts are at, or what happened yesterday, and how I can help, or am I getting in the way, or which player needs to be seen, what needs to be said, right? Where are we falling below the standard, below the line? We need to recognize someone because they're way achieving high and they're doing it in the dark, and we need to give them some light. And so I think like all of those things happen in the morning with that schedule. And I think without having that time, you would not be as intentional as you could.
People who know me, I have a reminder to remind myself of a sticky note that might remind me of an alarm that goes off in my phone. It's kind of like a cross check just to make sure. Hidden yardage. Both teams did a great job with special teams because both dynamic returners. But Rauschenberg with the constant touchbacks. Isaac, when he punted. The coverage teams. How proud are you right now? Hankins, the story out of nowhere. How proud are you of what they're doing as a group?
Really strong. I think they're, I give Coach Powledge a lot of credit. I think there is really, really strong buy-in to special teams and how they influence a game and playing complementary football. And so I think, the ability to contribute on that squad, not only from guys that maybe are not seeing a lot of time and want to get on the field, but guys that are starters and guys that are seeing a lot of time but want to be on this unit because it's going to help the team. I think like there's complete buy-in from all sides of it. And I think when you have that, and then I think with Powell, the ability to keep it simple, the ability to put playmakers in the best position to succeed and stress fundamentals, good things happen.
What does it say about you and your staff, though? You found Hankins out of nowhere, basically, I think Arkansas, and what he's done. And then also when you made the decision to look for a running back for the offense and the Abram Smith story with, Joey McGuire played against him and Coach Wetzel knew of him and so did others. What does that say that you guys have been able to find those diamonds in what they're doing?
Yeah, I think it's more, it's the guys, and I think it's seeing people first. I think it's, I think it is, it's as a coach, just not getting in the way of not getting an ego to where it becomes, if you're in a thing, it becomes now another thing. It's putting all that you have into them as people so that they feel like, I can believe in myself, or, I can give everything I got and ain't no one gonna come across me or come at me like this or that. I think when there is that type of environment, and that's players and coaches both, right, where it's like the team is first, then I think you can really have a lot of growth. And I think we're still in the process of that.
You mentioned when the interceptions were brought up about playing green or playing yellow. What were you saying? Yeah,
so the stoplight. So I think there's a fair amount of, I look at it just in life, I think like green would be your authentic self, and like totally like not trying to be somebody you're not trying to perform or act your way through a thing, just really feeling confident about who you are. And, you bring your identity into every room you go, as opposed to going into a room and taking the identity of every room that you walk into. And that would be playing green. I think on the football field, that would be, playing full speed, right? No, courage over any form of comfort where I'm kind of holding back, right? Putting yourself out there. Yellow would be, if it's life, it would be, I got this job because it pays some money and I don't necessarily like the people here, and I'm kind of doing it just to get by. I'm gonna get another job, or every morning I got to put on this face and be this for someone and I don't even know. And yellow in football would be, I don't really know. I think I'm supposed to do this. I'm gonna try. I'm kind of halfway in, halfway out. Right? When times get tough, I kind of make it up. Right? So yellow is kind of pumping the brakes, seeing if it's safe. Can you be you? Can you not? And red would be, palms up. Red would be, transfer portal, fisticuffs. It would be, blow ups. It would be, breakups.
Speaking of that, and I think it was amazing, you brought this up. This is a picture of the Berenstain Bears books, and you brought this up.
It's a bad decision.
No, it was fantastic. Really old hat, new hat, when you're talking about things you're comfortable with or things you're trying to find. First of all, I think the book sales exploded over the weekend. I had to ask you about that. That's just that. For someone like me,
Yeah.
You didn't like you didn't like that?
No, I think it
made sense.
Yeah, it's something I've always been able to look at, I've always seen how stuff connects. And so, I remember that book, and I just feel like I remember as a coordinator, I loved the old hat. And so there'd be, but you would have to, it wasn't so much the new hat you were getting. There would be times you would get the new hat. It was more about the Berenstain Bears search. That's really what it is. And if you're true to that, and you ask the right questions, and you go through the search the right way, and you get to the old hat, then that's where it's supposed to be. If you're true to the search, and you ask the right questions, and you're honest with yourself, right, and you take input from other parties, other people that are in the room with you, and that leads you to a new hat, then so be it. But I think you have to recognize that the search is important and spend time doing that. And I think sometimes, so that's the focus on the process again. Mm-hmm. I think so many people focus on where they're, what they're trying to get to, and they miss it.
I thought it was brilliant. I did. Speaking of searches, you had brought up a couple of weeks ago, the question was asked about your name out there, and Joey's name today, and then Gary Patterson, and now what they're doing. Are agents involved in telling coaches what they can say? Like Mike Tomlin, I don't know if you saw what he said. He said, never say never, but never. He was very angry about his name coming up. He's coaching the Steelers. They've had 3 coaches in forever. Mm-hmm. Is that something that is, is that you, because you gave an answer that you love it here at Baylor. Grant Tapp told me today that you are a perfect fit for Baylor and that you're not one that's going to be looking around. Mm-hmm. How do coaches go about having to answer that? And does it get to be the kind of tiresome?
No, I think I think it is part and parcel. I think whether, either way, if you're losing, there's going to be stuff, and if you're winning, there's going to be stuff. And so, I think, you'd rather have this stuff, I guess. But, for me, like, the opportunity to grow as a person is really, I think I said it last week, I talk more now in a day than I probably did in a week at LSU. And that's, that's kind of embarrassing to say, but that's the truth. And so I think like the growth, and I think what Baylor provides is seeing people, spiritual growth, value in who you are as a person, and interpersonal relationships, treat people the right way, class, integrity. And those are all things that just, like what Coach Taff was saying, they fit with how I believe. And so I think it's a growth in that space. I think for almost becoming a machine at LSU, for example, just as an assistant coach with just football. And then, I think you and I have talked before about the stresses and how that can push you to extremes. And I think, I remember when we were recruiting Apu, he wanted to get on the phone with me, and I wanted to get on the phone with him, and we're talking. I could tell there was some kind of awkwardness on the phone. And I go, "You're probably wondering what it's like with me as a head coach." And he goes, "Yeah, man, I don't even know." So I said, I appreciate that, man. I can see why, Mm-hmm. And so we talked about all that. And I think it's just like the growth. I think so the growth as a person, that's the thing. I think the stuff as a coach, I think, is all just, that's just a byproduct of it. So I think like the more, I don't know, people would probably call them soft skills, but those soft skills do hard things, way hard things. And I think the better you are with those skills, like empathy, right, being transparent, selflessness, communication, like listening to understand, all of those things I think have been way strong for me here. And those things I've always believed there, or wherever I've been, but have always just never grown. And so I think the growth is over everything.
And so you love it here, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you ever talked to Coach Taff about being the next Grant Taft, like what he meant to this school?
Yeah, I couldn't even think like that. That'd be crazy. But I know like Coach Taff was just more than football. He was just so. What he meant as a mentor, what he meant, as a father, what he meant as a leader. And now that I'm here at Baylor, I can see, so much of that was him, but I could see the support, and I can see the outside influences that can make something like that happen, because it's special.
One final thing, your record's 9-8. Mm-hmm. Remember when I asked you last year, did you ever think about it's your name with 2-7 or what was 1 and whatever it was? Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of bigger goals ahead of you, but 9-8, that's your record now. And it used to be a big hole that you were under.
Yeah. I think, never really look at the record. Mm-hmm. I think, looking at, the routine, the different team that you have basically every day, and trying to be real with what's real. I think like those are the things. Whereas I think like last year, finding a lot out about myself, finding a lot about our players more or less every day, and not having the expectations a lot of times set to where, I know enough about me so that I could say this about you, right? And so there is a space where, hey man, I'm going to love you, but to do that, this is where this has to be, where I can still love myself. I think so much of that was the story of last year. And I think, coming to grips really with who I am, and then knowing our players, and for them to really see me, I think has allowed, right, a daily process that where guys can just be themselves, man, and kind of give to the team. And I think, through all that, and that record can go here or there, but you feel fulfilled though, right? Because you feel like, this is where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and your heart feels good. So from there, everything is good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach on Sikkim 365 Radio.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Big things happening at Champions in Woodway. The expansion is coming, and just wait till you see what Kevin and Lorraine have going on there. It's really going to be quite awesome what they've got going on over there and expanding in, and just more space for you to get a great haircut and a shave and a beard trim at Champion Salon and Barber. Okay, this is by request, guys, on the chat room. I want to say on Tuesday, we got one that said, how about a top 5 with a list of some of the hot seat coaches and the potential replacements for people I think would be good fits, and curious to hear how you guys think these fits are. Now, none of these guys have been fired yet. They might be fired. They might not be fired, but I did a hot seat list, and I replaced one guy on it because of a good comment. I took Jed Fish off and I put Carl Durrell on from Colorado from the other day, which is my list on Tuesday. All right, number 5, Carl Durrell, Colorado. Mike Elko, A&M defensive coordinator. And I put Mike Elko on a lot of these lists because I think he's going to be a head coach here soon. And Colorado's problem has been for a long time that they have kind of recycled coaches. I think it would be good
for Colorado to get some fresh new blood, and Mike Elko's ready to be a head coach, I think that would be a good one for them if they want an up-and-comer and a guy who's a maybe not been a head coach, but ready to be.
So Darrell's on the hot seat.
Yeah, they're not doing very well.
But they haven't really done well. Now, Tucker was there, and he left pretty quickly to Michigan State. That would have helped them quite a bit. Okay.
No, and this is just if these guys.
I get it.
This is a big if. All right, number 4, Justin Fuente. Brent Venables. Already in the ACC, dominating defense, would be a defense-first head coach. That's Virginia Tech's identity. That's as close to Beamer ball as you can get. And again, it's not a retread. It's a guy who's probably ready to be a head coach. And you steal the defensive coordinator away from the best team in your conference consistently.
Yeah, I mean, it sure seems like Venables has been, should be a head coach now for like 15 years. So my question is, does he want to be a head coach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he said at one point or another, I don't follow, him closely enough to know or not. But, I mean, for a guy who should be a head coach, he should have been for like 10 years, and he's remained at Clemson time and time again. So I know Tony Scott's getting a lot of buzz. And, there's a chance they could lose both coordinators potentially. But I want to see Brent Venables go out and actually want to get a job, because I don't feel like he really has made the efforts to go and get one. And K-State seemed like the dream spot for him at one point in time. But, obviously they went a different direction.
He's won 3 national titles as an assistant coach, Oklahoma with Stoops and twice with Dabo. What does he want to do in his life? Not everybody, even though that seems to be the popular thing, wants to be a head coach. You would think so. Sometimes the best coordinators aren't the best coaches, head coaches. And you would think Elliott and Venables are closer. And you wonder if Clemson, and I say slippage for what they've been, if that doesn't lead to something where one or both end up going somewhere else.
That's another good point there. Number 3, and this one I do hate. We talked about the other day. Seth Luttrell at North Texas. I really, I don't know what they're doing at North Texas, whether they're even thinking about this or not. But his name keeps coming up in hot seat, chatter, and I don't know if that's true. But look, I think you could do a lot worse than Kendall Briles, who I think that if he's ever going to be a head coach, that's the kind of job he needs to step into. And they're already running kind of a spread offense. So
we're a little bit biased when it comes to Seth Luttrell. Been on the show. Obviously, we can't let that affect how we feel about honesty. And Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator, one of our favorites. But they're here's the thing. You have TCU, who's about to change, and Texas Tech's about to change. And North Texas, if they're not careful, even though going to a new conference, could be left completely behind. And they're kind of in that thing anyway right now, where they're kind of just there.
Yeah,
they had a moment to really do what UTSA is doing right now. But once Mason Fine left, it just seems like they kind of lost their wheels a little bit. Offense hasn't been as potent since he was gone a couple of years ago. And, they're just kind of out there sort of floundering right now. I want Luttrell to do well. I want Bennett to do well. But I don't know if he's just trying to get back into the swing of things or what. But they're giving up a lot of points whenever I've looked and not scoring nearly enough. So, it's kind of a deal where the expectations aren't super high or anything. But, they did get a little taste of what winning was like just not that long ago. And I'm sure they don't want to go too long without feeling that again.
Yeah. Here's one of the things from Damon Selman. Honestly, he said what Colorado needs to think about doing is running a hurry-up offense with the home stadium's elevation. Now, I always think of Colorado as the running game with McCartney, and that's just all with Big Ben, Bieniemy. But that's not a bad thought. You come into our backyard and let's run the hell out of you. Not that others don't run it, but then at elevation.
Yeah. Everybody's got to get used to it.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a great idea, and I'm just kind of saying probably because I'm like, why would nobody have thought about that before? I'm sure somebody had to have thought about that and maybe try to put it in place. But no, I think that's a great idea. I mean, they needed an identity. That's one thing they need. At least when Steven Montez was quarterback, and you had Chenault. LaVisca in that case, not his younger brother, but he was having a monster year just a couple of years ago, and they were tearing it up on offense. But now the last couple seasons just kind of ho-hum.
Yeah. All right, number 2, Dan Mullen at Florida. Replace him with Georgia defensive coordinator Dan Lanning. This is a home run on 2 fronts. One, Dan Lanning's an excellent recruiter, great defensive mind, and you rip him out of your biggest rival in the conference. That's what Florida needs to do. And I honestly think that the way it's going with Dan Mullen, he's not going to make it out of, and maybe he makes it in the next year if he can maybe convince him he's turning things around. But his general vibe has been that he doesn't care about the questions he's being asked. And eventually that's going to turn.
Does he not care, or is he on purpose just answering in a very dumb way? He knows he's on his. I don't know. It's been
he's
a
not showing any
there.
respect. And look, I don't think you need to bow. I've never believe you have to be somebody that's to bow down to the media, even though the media pretends like you need to. I'm a member of the media, and I don't feel that way. But you also can't just be a complete freaking jerk for no reason. If they're just trying to do their jobs and you're giving them sarcastic answers or whatever, however it's unfolding there that it's rubbing people the wrong way, he probably needs to work on that a little bit, because, man, that would be one dumb reason to be pouring gasoline on your exit is by not dealing with the media well.
Yeah.
And, that's just that's stupid sabotage.
Herman was fired. Did that have anything to do with him? Now, it's again,
Herman was fired
met with
because
him and said, "You guys, I own you." He kind of almost threw it all down.
Well, I'm sure the Texas media thinks it did, but no, it didn't have anything to do with him.
But he probably also did that to a lot of people that worked above him.
But was he a jerk on purpose at times?
No, I think he was completely aloof about how much of a jerk he was. I think he was the guy who thought he was the smartest guy in the room. Remember Mr. Mensa? Yeah. And in some cases on paper he was. But I think he's one of those guys that's incredibly book smart and then incredibly awkward in just regular conversation or real life. My cousin's like that. She's like brilliant 1600 SAT, but like not the smartest person when you're just talking about normal things, and he kind of strikes me that way.
Making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I think he and Dave Aranda probably had the most awkward dorm room in the history of dorm rooms. Is what I think.
Yeah. All right, and number 1, Scott Frost.
Oh my God, another one.
Well, I mean, you got to, Smokey. He's the coach on the hottest seat. I would say Matt Campbell. I think he's got the kind of attitude that Nebraska has. They've lost their identity. The day that Frank Solich walked out that door, they lost who they were.
Their heart and soul.
They lost it.
And they were slipping, but it wasn't as if Texas and Oklahoma were just a couple of just haphazard. They were both good at that time.
But
I agree.
But it is like you need what Nebraska is, and what it's been since its beginning is we are going to knock you and knock you and knock you and knock you until you can't take it anymore.
It's the only way they can win.
Yeah,
I agree. In the weather and the conditions and who they have to recruit or whatever else. That's all you can do.
Yeah, well, other Big Ten teams have the same stuff to deal with. And not many of them have the history that Nebraska does. I mean, I they do need an identity. But, I'll just use Baylor as an example. Their identity for a few years there was having the most high-flying, crazy offense and the craziest uniforms, and now they wear very plain uniforms for the most part, and they're known for defense. So that's all happened in less than 5 years. It could happen at Nebraska, too, but they need to figure out what the identity is going to be.
Right now, it is a dumb football team and a bad one.
Matt Rose decided it was going to be defense, and that's what he did with Matt Rule, and he said, yep, we're sticking with defense, and that's why he got Dave Aranda. And that was obviously after the years of great offense, and that's who they are now. And Nebraska needs to figure out who are we and go find that guy.
All right, Paul, good stuff. Thank you very much to the top 5. Thanks to Armstrong Sims back at the mothership. Tomorrow I'm going to fly solo with Armstrong inside our studio at 101 Elm. We're about to have Midway and Lake Ridge here, our 6:30 pregame. Paul, you enjoy your day off. I'll see you Saturday in the pregame. Craig, enjoy your weekend as well. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to all of you on the chat room, the text line, and, of course, everybody that you tell about what we do on 365 Sports. Man, it's like a huge family. We appreciate it.
Please hit subscribe. I don't want to pan like all the podcast hosts do, but we don't ask you very often. So if you get the chance to and you haven't thought about it, just please hit that subscribe
button.
And
Jimmy G on a good point about Pelini was pretty good.
Yeah,
but he wasn't good enough, and again, kind of had some meltdowns, but he was always winning 9 games but getting blown out once or twice. Thanks for the thought, Jimmy. I loved Bo Pelini, and sometimes he drove me crazy. This is Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Midway coming up at 6:30.